Wait a second. What's going on here? Hmm, that's weird. Very odd indeed. Very odd indeed. Hope everybody's having a decent evening. Not sure where everybody's at. Don't seem to be anybody chilling this evening. I don't know. Odd. What the fuck? What is going on here? Huh. Mm, the fuck?
Good evening, everybody. You're watching America First. My name is Nicholas J. Fuentes. We have a great show for you tonight. Very excited to be back here with you tonight on Thursday. It is Thursday, right? We got a lot to talk about tonight, lots to get into. Big show. It's actually a huge show. Our featured story tonight, we are once again getting into the negotiations between the United States and Iran on Iran's nuclear program. And we finally have what looks like a definitive update. I know maybe this topic feels stale. It's kind of getting a little bit old for me. I like it, but there's not a lot of movement on it. It's been probably about a month since the protests in January, and it seems like we just have this uncertainty. We have no idea if the U.S. will act, what it's going to be, to what end. But today, it seems like all of that has finally changed. And as you know, this morning was the long-anticipated third round of discussions between the U.S. and Iran. Once again, they were held in Geneva, Switzerland. And it seems like if there was ever a definitive, decisive moment, it was this morning. This morning, our time. And the big development is that the talks seem to have utterly collapsed. Now, they say that there's going to be another round of discussions next week. That's what everybody says. I would remind you, however, that just before Israel bombed Iran last year in June, they had scheduled another round of talks. So to me, that does not necessarily preclude the possibility of a military confrontation this weekend or next week, even though they say the talks are ongoing. Now, the reason that I'm a little bit more confident today that we have some clue as to where all of this is headed is because despite what we talked about last night, we went to a little bit of what was said during the State of the Union, and there were some new statements from Rubio and Vance, and we played devil's advocate. We talked a little bit about a possibility for Trump to pursue an off-ramp. He seems to be looking for one at least. But today, all of that was effectively debunked to the extent that there was any hope that there is an off-ramp that is viable or that Trump is looking for one. We now know that is not the case. And we know that because the U.S. entered the talks today with a list of demands, and they are exactly the same. It's the same list of demands that we've been dealing with for the past year. And they are that Iran has to destroy its nuclear facilities. So they actually have to go in and blow up all the infrastructure, which they've invested in. They have to agree to never enrich uranium again, and that's permanent. There's no sunset clause, nothing like that. And not only do they have to forfeit their highly enriched uranium, but they have to give it to the United States.
That's fucking
so there was
crooked.
talk earlier in the talks, in the discussions, that maybe
We're really
Iran would give
like
some of the stockpile to a third country
for Israel.
So they might give half of it to Russia, let's say. Well, the United States today is demanding that they give all of it to the United States. And so these are the same demands. Again, this is really nothing new. This is what they've been saying for the past couple months. This is what they said last year. These have been the demands really since 2018. Destroy the nuclear program, no enrichment, no sunset clause, and you got to give up what you've already enriched. And that's the deal. Now, not only are these a list of demands that Iran is never going to accept, but the United States isn't even offering anything in return.
They just started allowing
Iran, if they even are going to make any kind of a deal, and they have made some concessions.
Yo, what up,
they said they might dilute
dude.
their stockpile. They might give some of the stockpile, again, to a third country. They would agree to slow or restrict enrichment for a period of time. Even if they made an agreement like that, what Iran is asking for in return is massive and immediate sanctions relief. Because if they don't have it, then their country is going to collapse. They need to fix the infrastructure. They need electricity. They need water. They need food. They need things to start coming back into the country. So it doesn't even make sense for Iran to make a deal, and they're not going to, unless they get the floodgates for investment and commerce to open up. And the U.S. isn't even offering that. They're giving basically no sanctions relief. And the sanctions relief that they're giving is contingent upon Iran's compliance with the other demands. So it's as I said last week, the week before, this is an ultimatum. This has not changed. Trump gave Iran an ultimatum, and the ultimatum is you're going to agree to all of our demands, you give up entirely, or we're going to war. There's going to be no deal. There's going to be no concessions. There is not a compromise. It's not even really a negotiation. Trump is saying it's a take it or leave it deal. You're either going to agree to all this or we're going to war, and that's it. And Trump has not budged. And that was clear today. Now, the timeline is about to expire. It was last Tuesday, not this previous Tuesday, 3 days ago. It was the previous Tuesday, so 10 days ago, I guess 9 days ago. It was 9 days ago that Trump gave Iran a 10-day to 14-day deadline. So the 10-day, which is obviously sooner, that's tomorrow. 14 days is Tuesday. So the deadline that Trump imposed on himself and on Iran to make a deal, it either expires tomorrow or it expires on Tuesday. That would point toward imminent strikes, either this weekend or next weekend. And so I think that is how all of this is shaping up. Again, there are some headlines about maybe another last-ditch effort. They say that the Omani minister is coming tomorrow or tonight, and he's going to try to make a last-ditch agreement, and they say that they're scheduling another round of talks, and the Iranians say that it's going well. But how could it be going well? It's the same program. It's been the same program since a year ago. So we are headed towards, we're headed towards a war. That's where all the arrows are pointing right now. So we're going to get into that. We're also going to talk tonight about this major move in the media industry. And we've had our eye on this one for a little bit, and, it's being called an upset, but I guess that's only if you're not a conspiracy theorist. So as you know, Larry Ellison, the Jewish billionaire CEO and chairman of Oracle, the software giant, has been trying to build a media empire. He has ambitions to build what will probably become uncontested, undoubtedly, the #1 media conglomerate in the world. Going from no media holdings, basically no media portfolio at all, to in the span of 1 year, Larry Ellison now owns the media. And we've talked about this. Last year, his son, David Ellison, acquired Paramount Pictures for his media company, which is called Skydance. And it became Skydance Paramount. And with Paramount, they acquired CBS, CBS News, number of television stations, Paramount Pictures, Paramount Plus, the streaming service. This is already a pretty substantial media holding. Just as quickly as David Ellison acquired Paramount, they wanted to go after Warner Brothers. And they set their sights on Warner Brothers, which is another massive media company, and they made a bid for it. When they made the bid for Warner Brothers, it triggered an open bid. And Warner Brothers went out and they solicited other offers. Netflix came in with a massive, substantial offer, and Warner Brothers board approved that offer. And so literally up until yesterday, from December until yesterday, Netflix had a deal approved by the board. That was the program. They were going to acquire Warner Brothers, and that was it. It was looking like it was a done deal. Well, at the last minute, Paramount Skydance came back with a better offer. Netflix gave Warner Brothers a 7-day waiver to review the offer. And now, this is the big announcement today, Warner Brothers has accepted the offer. So you're now going to have Skydance, Paramount, and Warner Brothers all under the Larry Ellison empire. That is in addition to their holdings in TikTok, which earlier this year, late last year, broke off from ByteDance and formed its own independent company. It's a U.S. TikTok company. Larry Ellison owns a significant percentage of that, owns the algorithm and all the data. So now you've got Skydance, Paramount, Warner Brothers, TikTok, all part of the same family. So that's CBS, CBS News, CNN, Discovery Channel, Food Channel, Nickelodeon, Paramount Pictures, Warner Brothers Studio, all of that, HBO, HBO Max, Paramount Plus, all of that, plus TikTok under this one family. And as we've discussed, Larry Ellison is a close personal friend of Benjamin Netanyahu, huge supporter of Israel. You could say this is the biggest push in Israel's 8th front war to make the case for Zionism and for Israel's ongoing expansionist war in the Middle East. And now it's a done deal. So we'll talk about that too. And really the theme of the show tonight, you really have to step back and consider, who has this administration been a victory for? Who has this been a win for? Think about what has come to pass in the second Trump administration, just these developments today. We're going to war with Iran to pursue regime change, to topple their government. The U.S. government forced the sale of TikTok to Larry Ellison. Arguably, the Justice Department played a role in sabotaging the Netflix Warner Brothers deal. And now this new media conglomerate has been created under this Zionist Jewish family. We're not even getting into tonight what has happened on the Ivy League campuses, where the Department of Education has wielded the grants and loans for the universities to get their faculty fired, to get their policies changed. And so really, when you look at the breadth of what Trump and this administration have done, this is the most Jewish administration in history. And I know that sounds the way that it sounds, but it's what it is. Who is up? Who's winning here? They have recaptured the Ivy League universities. They're overthrowing the government in Iran, which they have always wanted to do. A Zionist Jewish family now has the largest media conglomerate in the world, or arguably one of the largest media conglomerates in the world. You've got the State Department and DHS actively deporting anybody that criticizes Israel on social media. Won't let people into the country who have criticized Israel. It's endless like this. They're talking about another MOU, another foreign aid bill for Israel. And we can't even get 500,000 deportations. We can't even get a border wall. Think about this. You are being played. Who is it really for? I said it in 2024. It has come to pass in 25. You have to look at not simply what is not happening, border wall, deportations, tariffs, the rest, but what is happening for others. And how are they using the institutional power? How are they using the government to achieve it? Think about the institutional capture that has occurred. Think about this game of musical chairs. You got Ronald Lauder, chairman of the World Jewish Congress. His son-in-law is the chair of the Federal Reserve. Okay, so a son-in-law of this guy's running the Fed. You have Larry Fink, the Jew that runs BlackRock, running the World Economic Forum. All the Ivy Leagues had to agree to these onerous anti-Semitism measures to unlock their federal money. We're going to war with Iran after we did it last year and went to war with the Houthis. And now they have rebuilt or expanded their ownership over the media. Now you've got the Ellisons running CBS, CNN, Warner Brothers, Paramount, HBO Max, Paramount Plus, TikTok. And you say, wow. And people thought that the Great Awakening would change things. They thought, surely the people are aware. How could it possibly get worse? They say something's got to give. The Goyim woke up, and there's nothing they could do about it. Well, they did something about it, okay? They did something about it. It's called they got Trump elected. And you fell for it. They tricked you. And it's literally this simple. You look at Trump and you say, I see what you have done for them. Do that for us also. Look at what he has done for them. Deporting anti-Semites, blowing up Harvard and all the other Ivies, going to war with Iran, making this media conglomerate happen. How about a free speech bill for the internet? How about a constitutional right or legislative protections for our right to speak on the internet? Is that even being talked about? No. How about a border wall? It's been 10 years. No, hasn't even started. How about mass deportation? It goes on and on. Truly. And people think the arrangement is in reverse. More on that later. So we'll get into all that. It's sort of hard to witness sometimes. You know, it's hard to watch, but we'll talk about all that. Before we get into it, I want to remind you to smash the follow button on Rumble, smash the like button, leave a comment, let me know what you think about the show. Check out our merch store, Fuentes.store. We have the hats, hoodies, sweatshirts, t-shirts, all the merch, Fuentes.store. Check it out. We also have our America First Plus subscription. If you want to support the show, people say, how can I support the show? Become a Plus subscriber. It's $15 a month. That's the base level. And you get access to every episode of the show, every piece of content I've ever made, every interview, debate, commentary stream. And you know what? The website works really well. So people complain that the show on Rumble is a little buggy, or they complain about the lobby being too long. We have a really good video player on the website, and every show is cropped. You have an MP3 version of it. So it's probably the best way to watch the show. That's AmericaFirst.plus. For $100 a month, you get access to the group chat with me, and I'm in there. I'm dropping knowledge. I'm hanging out with the niggas. And like I said, the results can be mixed at times. I was complaining a little bit about it last night. Look, it's a group chat. So niggas come into the group chat and they're off the goop. And it just is what it is. But it's a fun time. And I drop a lot of bonus content in there. So if you really want the real stuff. Because here's the thing. I can't even really say so much of the good stuff on the show because everybody just clips it and takes it out of context. So I can't even really be myself on the show because everybody just crashes out. I make a joke about anything you literally can't make a joke about anything. You make a joke about women, people freak out. You make a joke about Slavs, Albanians, Muslims, people lose their minds. Kid Rock. Oliver Anthony. You make jokes about this stuff, people go crazy. So the group chat is like, it's my safe space. I feel free to create. So check that out, americafirst.plus. All right, with that out of the way, we're going to dive into the show. Before we get into the news, I do just want to say, so has anybody been watching this Candace Owens, Erica Kirk saga on YouTube? Where's everybody at with that? I'm just curious. I just want to take a poll. Where is everybody at with the Candace Owens, Erica Kirk thing? I want you to press 1 in the chat if you're Team Candace. I want you to press 2 if you're Team Erica. I just want to take the temperature because I don't really know where everybody's at. I know that when Charlie Kirk when Charlie Kirk got assassinated, everybody was a conspiracy theorist. But now I kind of want to know how people are rocking with this. Press 1 if you're Team Candace, 2 if you're Team Erica. I'm just curious kind of what the consensus is. Live chat's kind of moving. Oh, wow, a lot of 2s now. A lot of 2s, actually. Okay. Some people saying 3. Well, that's not an option, okay? It's either Team 1 or the other. Here's the thing, okay? I remember when Charlie Kirk got assassinated and everybody jumped on the conspiracy bandwagon and they all said it's a big conspiracy. Everybody said it's a huge conspiracy and Israel's involved and, you know. I think that was, in retrospect, the high watermark of the JQ movement, and it was really all downhill from there, and maybe rightfully so. And I remember back then I said, I'm willing to follow the facts wherever they lead. If there is evidence that Israel is involved, obviously I'm very interested in that, and I'm willing to examine it. And if it checks out, if it's verified, I'll talk about it on the show, and I'll be front and center. I'll be on the front lines. You know that. I always have been. For many, many years, I've been on the front line on this issue. But at that time, I was just unconvinced. I never saw anything resembling evidence. I didn't see a smoking gun. As a matter of fact, all the evidence that we have points to Tyler Robinson. Now, you can criticize the evidence. You can scrutinize the evidence. But we have evidence. We have Discord logs. We have the murder weapon. We have security camera footage. He turned himself in. So, you know, we have all this stuff, and all of it points towards him. Now, you can sit there and critique that, and you can say that maybe it's all fake. But where's the evidence that something else happened? And I'm not talking about, this doesn't quite make sense, or how could a bullet do this? I mean, where's the hard evidence? Where's the positive evidence, forensic evidence? Where is it? And I was patient and I entertained this. Well, here we are in February and it's like, there's nothing there. 6 months almost and nothing has turned up. We don't have another murder weapon. We don't have any witnesses. We don't have any whistleblowers. You got a big nothing. And as a matter of fact, all the things that were claimed have kind of been debunked at this point. The Bill Ackman retreat, debunked with text messages and receipts. The Netanyahu letter that was supposed to have been misrepresented, we saw it. And Charlie was glazing Israel in it. It's exactly what Netanyahu represented. And the Egyptian planes, the Fort Huacachuca, we got alibis from the fort and the Egyptian planes, she got the data wrong. So not only is there nothing, but all the leads have gone nowhere. All the leads have either been refuted, debunked, or they end in a dead end. Now we're on Erica Kirk. And I'll admit, I tuned into the first episode and I watched some of it. I saw some of the clips and I saw some of the clips from today. And now the big idea, she's into the big idea that Erica Kirk is some kind of handler. I don't even really know what the idea is, actually, because it's never been made clear. We don't, at this point, we still don't even know what the theory is, who killed Charlie Kirk or why. There's all these little things like psychics and time travel and the French and the Israelis and Freud somehow. And like, I don't even really know what the big idea is that she's like some kind of military spook? I don't even really know what the big idea is. But okay, let's entertain the idea that maybe she's involved in this. What's the evidence? And I'm watching the show, and the evidence amounts to these like clerical errors. So we looked into these divorce records, and they had the wrong year for her marriage and divorce in one of the filings. And you go, okay, so what? The parents got divorced, and in the filing, the year is wrong? Okay, so what? If your claim is that she's some kind of military plant and Charlie's a psychic and he can astral project and the military shut it down because they're into magic and the fusion of science and spirituality, how does that prove any of that? How does a miss, or I don't know what you would call that. I mean, a false entry, a mistake? How does a mistake on a public court filing prove that Charlie Kirk was a psychic and had ESP and was killed by them? I'm just not seeing it. So I saw that today and I was very disappointed because there was so much hype. It's like, okay, we're going to blow the lid. French kill squads and time travelers and astral projection and psychics and aliens. And this is a conspiracy that goes back 300 years. And you go, okay, let's see. So let's get into it. Let's get down to business. What's the proof? So we went into her parents' divorce filings from 30 years ago and they got the year wrong and they hastily edited it with pen. You go, okay, so? So I saw that, and I got to be honest, this is what I will say. And it was a little bit surprising. Matt Walsh, who is Candace Owens' former colleague and friend at Daily Wire, he came out today with the video very strongly, very directly, going after Candace Owens for attacking Erica Kirk. And I watched the whole video, and credit where it's due. You know me, I'm very critical of Matt Walsh. I believe he should leave Daily Wire. I think as long as he is at Daily Wire, he is giving them credibility. I think Daily Wire is a Zionist Jewish operation. I think it effectively exists to support the pro-Israel agenda. And I think that the longer that Matt Walsh and Michael Knowles stay there, they are delaying its inevitable collapse, and they're actually buttressing its credibility. So I have my critiques of Matt Walsh, but I have to say, I really admired his statement today. And it's not just because I have a little bit of a beef with Candace Owens. It's because I think that took a lot of balls, and I think it took a lot of integrity, because I know that's his friend, and I know that they've worked together, and I know that he probably has to expect that he'll get some backlash for this, that maybe his audience won't be receptive to it. But it was a very powerful episode because he said, you know what? At the end of the day, this isn't a game. He said Charlie Kirk actually did die, and Erica actually is now a widow. And you can take away everything else, and you can talk about the evidence and the killing and all this. He goes, but that's her life. And she's devastated. She's a wreck. This is a horrible situation. How is somebody supposed to react to a situation like that? Your husband gets publicly executed by some maniac. He goes and he says he's talked to her and he's leveled with her and related with her. He said, and fundamentally, it is just wrong to attack and accuse somebody with no evidence. If you're going after somebody, and he made actually a really good point. He said it better than I did. He said, nobody is saying that Erica probably killed Charlie, but we should let it go because she's a grieving widow. He goes, there's no evidence that she did this. And she is a grieving widow. And you're making all these unfounded charges and unfounded allegations, which what they really amount to is sort of circumstantial stuff. It's a lot of judgmental type stuff. Well, we don't like the way she looks and we don't like the way she's acting and questioning some of the decisions she's made. He goes, and it's just wrong to level these unfounded charges with no evidence against a person, especially when they're going through a very difficult time and that's their life. And I thought that was a really powerful statement. And, I've said some things about Erica Kirk too, and I think it's true. I mean, she does look a little bit phony at times, and I question whether it's a good idea for her to take over Turning Point. And, I think those are fair criticisms. But to say she's part of the military conspiracy to kill her husband, where's the evidence? That requires extraordinary evidence. And if you make that claim, the burden of proof is on you. We're innocent until proven guilty. If you're making the claim, we're not saying that Turning Point is 100%. You know me, I've had my problems with Turning Point. And we're not saying that we totally approve of that decision for her to step up or whatever. But you're making the claim that she killed her husband, that she's some military spook. That's an extraordinary allegation. It does require evidence. The burden of proof is on you. And so far, there's none of that. And what we get instead is this sort of smarmy, cocky attitude. And also always talking about the numbers. It's always like, well, you're just mad because my show's number one. You're just mad because our show's doing so great. You're just mad because we're making so much money. And you go, where's the evidence? If you care about the truth, you're a truth teller. Why are you running this person through the ringer without any actual credible evidence? When I talk about a person, for example, like J.D. Vance, I bring the receipts. He held a fundraiser at Les Wexner's house in Ohio, according to several sources. Les Wexner is in the Epstein files. That's evidence. We talk about Tucker Carlson. You bring the receipts. His dad ran Voice of America for the CIA, then was at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, which is the most pro-Israel think tank in D.C. That's evidence. That's a receipt. That's proof. It's there. It's public record. It's there. These associations, these events, these are things that are documented. That's proof. But to say, we found a clerical error in this public filing from 40 years ago and such a thing, Sigmund Freud and this, that, and the other, Project Looking Glass, that's not evidence. And this is what I was getting at throughout the year. It's just irresponsible and it's also unethical to run a show like it's a soap opera. And this is my problem with the conspiracy genre. It's being generated as though it's a serialized true crime soap opera, when in reality, well, what it should be is it should deal in reality. It should deal with facts. It should deal with evidence. It should deal with the truth. We are in the business of seeking the truth in politics, in religion, and if there's a conspiracy, then in a conspiracy theory as well. But the purpose of the show is not to create this endless glut of sensationalist tabloid gossip for women like it's a big game. It's not a game. We are trying to achieve political change, and we're in this pursuit of truth. So to do all of this, it's gone on long enough. It has reached this point of, I think, just total exuberance. And I actually commend Matt Walsh. I thought that was very admirable, and I think it speaks very highly of his character. And it's a shame, because I really, like I said, I've got a lot of critiques of Matt Walsh, but time and again, I think he does demonstrate that he has character. Even though I disagree with him, even though I really have intense criticisms and disagreements with him and his decisions, I think he's a guy with a lot of integrity and a lot of character. And I think that he proves that time and again. You got to give credit where it's due. You got to be, if someone's doing something wrong, you got to be critical. If someone does the right thing, you have to be effusive in your praise also. So good on him. But I just wanted to throw that out there. I'm witnessing this and I'm like, this is wrong. This is just fucked up at this point. And I'm not trying to white knight for Turning Point at all. I know I just took a poll and said, are you on Team Candace or Team Erica? It's really not about taking sides. I have my problems with Turning Point. I have my personal beef with Candace. But this is wrong. You want to go after Turning Point, go after them for the right reasons. My critique against Turning Point was that they were too pro-Israel, too pro-legal immigration, too socially liberal, based on things they had said. I wasn't saying, oh, they're killing their founder. They conspired to murder their boss and husband. And we brought evidence, so it's a shame. It's really, I feel like 2026 is a difficult year. I've said it. 2025 was in many ways the high watermark. I think that Everybody woke up and this became a big fad and this became a big social media trend. And now we're sort of witnessing the fragmentation. And I think it was because maybe this stuff became so popular that it attracted the wrong kinds of people. And by that, I mean the Jewish conspiracy stuff, the general conspiracy stuff. It became so sensational and so popular. It truly became a phenomenon that it attracted a lot of people who were in it because it was an endless wellspring of engagement for engagement farming. And then, therefore, translating that into money, advertising dollars, a media career. That was like that was the second act for a lot of different kinds of media personalities. And even with the audience, I think the audience was attracted to it because for whatever reason, this was being pumped onto everybody's timeline, onto everybody's For You page by the algorithm. And so as a consequence, maybe there was this bubble effect. There was too much of it, and maybe the wrong kinds of people creating and consuming it. And now I think we're in you could say, a JQ recession. We are certainly in what I would call a JQ correction. And there are some elements of that. It's in our conflict with the left that is Israel critical. It's in our conflict with the Muslims that are preoccupied with the provincial concerns of their own people, like Palestinian statehood. And it's in the schizo QAnon conspiracy stuff. I also don't doubt that there is some element of foreign influence there. And obviously, those charges are amplified to suit the needs of the Israelis. They like to say, oh, well, every Israel critical thing is a result of foreign influence. I think we're just not being honest if we say that there wasn't any element of that at all in the past year. And I think almost certainly you could say there was. Now, that is independent of the truth. The truth is the truth. But whether certain narratives were artificially amplified, that is also a separate question. And it's testable. So we have to move very thoughtfully. Everything cannot be a purity spiral. Everything cannot be heuristic thinking. And by that, I mean, we cannot fall back and be intellectually lazy on certain heuristics where we just blame the Jews for everything. Oh, Charlie Kirk got killed? It's Israel. Really? Why? Where's the evidence? Well, they kill everyone else. Okay, that's a heuristic. That's a rule that has been established. That's intellectually lazy. And then this ceaseless idea, everything is a conspiracy. And if you don't believe in every conspiracy, well, you're not our guy. You're a Fed. You're an operative. You're part of the psychic CIA Illuminati thing. You're a Frankist. What we are in the business of, I'll remind you, is achieving political change. And this requires us to be extremely thoughtful and sharp and clever and prudent. And so it can't always just be like I said, the lowest IQ, loudest people in the room, the most unseasoned people that got red-pilled yesterday, the lunatics running the asylum. We have to be very careful moving forward because this is the last thing I'll say. As we get into the show tonight, you will see the Jews have mounted a counteroffensive. Okay, they saw what happened last year. And they went back to the workshop and they figured out their new response. And now I think the momentum is with them more than it is with us. And so that requires us to be good game players. That requires us to be good tacticians and strategists. We have actually an abundance of people that are cheerleaders and yelling in a megaphone, chanting the talking points. We actually have enough of that. What we need are tacticians, strategists, people that can think strategically, people that can think critically. What we need are genuine researchers, people that are willing to do the boring work of doing the real research and actually scrutinizing evidence, not going through the Epstein files and doing command find and saying, where do they mention the satanic pedophile stuff? And then just literally throwing out everything that we find, even if it's fake, even if it's debunked or AI generated. We have to do the difficult work. We are in a war. War is difficult. Games are difficult because on the other side of the table is another rational actor. On the other side of the table from us on the chessboard is a very sophisticated adversary, okay? On the other side of the chessboard is a very sophisticated, rational actor, a very complex thinker. I'm talking about world Jewry. And so if you think we're just going to scream in their faces with the pitchforks and torches until we magically somehow win, we just need more anger. Just say it louder. Just say it again. Just say the same thing every day. Jews did it every day. And if we just say it loud enough, and if we just say it obnoxiously enough, somehow that will magically give us institutional power. No. The only success belongs to people that can engage in long-term planning, sustained effort, strategic and tactical thinking, people that are sophisticated, people that are sober-minded, looking at the truth. That is what delivers victory. And that's what I'm interested in. I'm interested in freeing our people. I'm interested in American sovereignty, and that comes from gaining institutional power. And that's not going to be achieved by chest beating. But people genuinely seem to think that. They think that if the Goyim wake up, and if we just we're going to do another rant. We're going to do another rant on Twitter. We're just going to charge up our emotions. More rage porn, more yelling. One day we'll wake up in the country that we want. No, you have to build the country that you want. Brick by brick, every day with painful sacrifices. Don't you understand that? Painful sacrifices. And sometimes that's the pain of giving your life to this cause. Not looking for some orgiastic moment where we go out on the battlefield and martyr ourselves and get canceled because we say the most offensive thing. I mean, that actually feels good to do that, to do something emotive. You know what doesn't feel good? 70 years of sustained effort, day in, day out, grinding it out in the trenches, in the battle, dirt on your face, getting shot at. Not literally, maybe literally, but mostly figuratively. Dealing with the heartbreak and the frustrations, this uphill battle. It feels like a Sisyphean struggle. That is what is required. And so, you know, it's a good thing that everybody woke up last year. I'm not going to say it wasn't a good thing, but we now need to filter and refine and shape. And what we need are the soldiers. We need the people that are going to rededicate themselves to this on a daily basis because it's the truth, because it's important, because it matters. It's our lives. It's our country. So anyway, that's just a word on that whole situation. I see that and I think, look at how it's just gone so wrong, you know, with that. But I do want to move on. I want to get into our featured story tonight, more on this whole situation and predicament that we're in. Our featured story, we're going to talk a little bit about the update in Iran, and I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I assume you're bored of hearing about it. I don't know. I feel like we've been talking about this exact situation for like 3 years now because I've been predicting this since October 7th. So for me, it's like I've been telling you this is going to happen. I feel like Chicken Little. The sky is falling, you know, since October 7, 2023. It's now February 2026. And it's like, you know, day 700, you know, here we are. But look, there's a big development today. So as we've been talking about all week, this morning was the third round of negotiations between Iran and the United States on Iran's nuclear program. And going into this round of talks, a lot of people had no idea what to expect because there's been some bizarre signals coming from the administration. I would say mixed signals. And this is another theme which has been present in this conversation for a long time, which is that the messaging is so mixed. One day, you'll have the representatives from both sides saying the talks were great, they were constructive, we're making headway, we're talking again next week, it's all great. But then the days go by and you hear the rumors from inside the White House and they say, we haven't budged an inch, our red line is the same, we're going to war. So there's all these mixed messages, mixed signals coming from the administration. And so everything was riding on this meeting this morning. Like I said, this is the third round of negotiations, and setting the stage. 2 weeks ago, Trump began this massive military buildup in the Middle East. I should say he started it a month ago, but this buildup started to accumulate about 2 weeks ago. And this is when Trump issued his ultimatum. Trump goes on Truth Social and says Iran is going to give up their nuclear program or we're going to destroy them. He said, and we'll give them a chance to talk, but we don't have a lot of patience. It's going to be a limited amount of time, not 60 days, maybe a few weeks. And over the past several weeks, you've seen 2 carrier strike groups deployed, over a dozen warships, many squadrons of fighters. Half of the deployable U.S. air power is in the region. U.S. soldiers are being removed from vulnerable military sites. Defensive systems are being deployed and moved into the region. So we have been slowly but surely preparing for war. As these talks have been underway, we have been making the preparations, the offensive, the defensive capabilities, getting ready, locked and loaded, so that if the talks fall through, we can pull the trigger. Now, again, the talks are concerning the nuclear program. And as I've said, you may be sick of hearing it, at the center of this conflict is whether Iran can enrich. Can they enrich uranium? That's it. Because if they can enrich, they can make nuclear fuel for a bomb. And on a long enough timeline, we have to assume they're going to do that. So we have been insisting since 2018, when Trump ripped up the original nuclear deal, that Iran has to dismantle all of its enrichment facilities. They have to commit to never enrich again. And the stuff they have enriched, they have to give it up. And if they can agree to that, then we can integrate them and normalize relations and we can have peace. Well, Iran is never agreeing to that. So this is the impasse. Now, Trump said 3 weeks ago, those are the demands. We're not playing around. We don't care about your missiles. We don't care about your proxies, but you have to give up enrichment. If you don't, there's going to be a war. So we had the first round of negotiations, and these were held in Oman. They almost didn't even happen, but our Middle Eastern allies, all the other ones, convinced us that we should hear Iran out. So we had our first round of negotiations in Oman a couple of weeks ago. And all that was decided in those talks was a framework for future talks. And the agreement was, we're not going to talk about ballistic missiles or proxies, just the nuclear file. So then we come back the following week. And the United States tells Iran, this is last Tuesday, not Tuesday a few days ago, but about 9 days ago, in Switzerland, the United States tells Iran, these are our demands. No enrichment, give up your enriched uranium, no sunset clauses, take it or leave it. And Iran said, well, maybe we'll give up some of the stuff. Iran said, well, maybe we're going to give some concessions. Iran said, maybe we'll dilute some of our enriched uranium. We're not giving it up. Maybe we'll give up half of it. Maybe we'll dilute it to a lower percentage enrichment. They said, and maybe we'll stop enriching at a high level for a few years. And the United States comes back and says, yeah, that's not where we are. The U.S. came back on Thursday and Friday of last week and said, this isn't really a negotiation. They said, our position is over here. You're way out over there. They said, and you got to close that gap. You got to meet us where we are or else. This is very important to understand. The U.S. is not budging. They're not offering creative solutions. It's not even a direct negotiation. We are speaking through an intermediary, through an Omani mediator. So the U.S. says, do better. Iran comes there, here's what we're prepared to give up, and this is what we're not prepared to give up. And the U.S. says, yeah, still not what we want. So they said, we'll do another round of talks. And the United States tells Iran, submit your proposal on Tuesday. We'll have our talks on Thursday. So the Omani representative delivered Iran's proposal. They sat on Thursday, and this is the development from this morning. Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff went to Switzerland. Did I say Oman? They went to Switzerland this morning, And they told Iran, once again, these are our demands, all over again. They said, we want zero enrichment. And as a matter of fact, you have to dismantle the facilities. You have to dismantle Fordo, Natanz, and Esfahan. And this is permanent. You can't reverse this. You can never go back on this. So no enrichment, dismantle the facilities forever. And they say that the stockpile of highly enriched uranium, you can't dilute it. You can't give it to Russia. You have to give all of it to us. Nobody else. These are our demands. In exchange, we're going to give you some small sanctions relief, and all of that will be contingent on your compliance with the agreement. Iran rejected all those demands. This is a development this morning. So we came in and we said, this is our list of demands, take them or leave them, again, and Iran said, nope. Iran literally rejected every single one. Iran said, we're going to enrich. We're not dismantling our facilities. Obviously, there's going to be no permanence because they aim to have continuity with the program. They said, we're not giving up our stockpile of enriched uranium. And they said, if you want a deal, we need massive sanctions relief immediately, not small sanctions relief over time. The United States walked away and said, even if Iran made a deal, maybe the Ayatollah wouldn't even approve of it. And on the flip side, even if the United States made a deal, the U.S. Senate might not approve of it. Any nuclear deal will have to ultimately be approved by the supreme leader on Iran's side. And the supreme leader does not trust the United States. If the president of Iran and the foreign minister are optimistic, the Ayatollah, who is the sovereign, who is the head of state, is not. So even if we had some capitulation from Iran, it's dubious that it would even stick. The reverse is also true. If the United States comes off of our demands, it will have to be ratified by the Senate. Iran's entire problem with any kind of peace talks or nuclear talks is that if the United States ripped up the first deal because it wasn't ratified, because the president was able to tear it up, how could they have confidence in another deal? Well, if there's going to be another deal, Iran is going to want it to be ratified so that some other future president can't tear it up again. Well, who controls the Senate? The Republicans. In particular, guys like Lindsey Graham and other neocons, guys like Fetterman on the other side that are in the pocket of Israel. And you're going to need 60 votes to get an Iran deal ratified. I don't know that you're going to be able to pull all those votes. Israel will pull the strings. If they don't like the deal, you're not going to have it. So here's the long story short. It's over. It's done. Okay, these negotiations are finished. They say there's going to be more talks next week. There's going to be more talks tonight, more talks tomorrow. Literally. They say the Omani representative is flying to D.C. to make a last-ditch effort, and Trump is meeting with his people at 3 o'clock tomorrow, and there's going to be more talks. What is there to talk about? The U.S. demands have not changed since the beginning. And as of this morning, they haven't changed. And Iran has rejected them again, as they always have. So what is there to talk about? What more can be said that will bridge a divide here? The most that Iran is offering is they'll dilute their stockpile, give up half of it. As far as enrichment is concerned, they'll temporarily pause it, limit it. They say that maybe they can have a consortium that will enrich uranium in Iran for the Arab countries. The U.S. isn't interested in any of this, and the U.S. is not backing down. So, if there's not going to be a deal, if these positions are irreconcilable, then you can talk as much as you want. There's going to be no agreement. And if there's going to be no agreement, well, what's the alternative? Trump is going to turn all the ships around? He's going to go to the 2 aircraft carriers and all these like Air Force wings, and he's going to say, turn it all around. You know, we're good. We don't want a deal anyway. It's there. It's going to be used. We're going to war. So this is a story. This is from the Wall Street Journal. It says, quote, the latest round of talks over Iran's nuclear program wrapped up on Thursday without a deal, and both sides are still far apart on key issues. U.S. envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner said Iran must destroy its 3 main nuclear sites, Fordo, Natanz, and Esfahan, and deliver all of its remaining enriched uranium to the United States. They also said any nuclear deal must last forever and not sunset. Iran rejected the idea of transferring uranium stockpiles abroad, so that rules out giving it to Russia or the United States. It also has objected to ending enrichment, dismantling its facilities, and permanent restrictions on its program. So they reject everything. Oman's foreign minister and a U.S. official said the two sides made progress and will meet again. The Omani said negotiations at the level of technical experts will continue in Vienna next week. At least 24 jet fighters crossed the Atlantic Ocean from the United States, according to flight tracking data. They're expected to join several squadrons already positioned at bases across the Middle East and Europe. Iran has warned it would treat any attack, however limited, as a trigger for an all-out response. Now, look, maybe you're tired of the technical talk here. The reason I'm bringing the technical stuff is because I want you to understand the state of the play, and I want you to understand where this is going, okay? It's easy to talk about what this is really about, which is obvious, but I just want you to know where we're going. Be that as it may, it should not be lost on anybody exactly what is going on here. This is as clear-cut and as unambiguous of an example as you can possibly find of a grand Jewish conspiracy. And what I mean by this is that Iran is not our enemy. Does anybody seriously think it is in the interest of the United States of America to pursue another regime change war in the Middle East? How does that go for us? We just got out of Afghanistan. We just got out of Syria. We are aiming to get out of Iraq. This has just happened in recent years. What's the record there? Afghanistan belongs to the Taliban. Syria belongs to Al-Qaeda. Iraq doesn't even want us there. It's a fragmented country completely. Libya is a failed state. They still don't have a government. So what's the record of regime change? Failure. We're like 0-4 on regime change. And not only that, it costs a ton of money. Americans die. And, you know, this stuff is also fungible, meaning everything that we use and lose in the Middle East, we can't use in the Indo-Pacific. We can't use in the Caribbean. So the United States does have fights that are in our interest. And those fights will be for the first island chain. Those fights will be for the Caribbean and Latin America. But everything that we use and then lose, all the money, all the equipment, the lives, the morale, all of that that is buried in the Middle East with nothing to show for it, that is all opportunity cost that we're not going to be able to use in a future conflict that might actually benefit us. So this is an extraordinary liability. Who possibly would think that this is making America great again, or putting America first, or part of any kind of golden age? It isn't. What we were promised is rebuilding America, rebuilding American infrastructure, regime change in Washington. It doesn't matter who runs the Middle East. It doesn't matter who's in charge of Iran. It matters who's in charge of the federal bureaucracy and the permanent state. Isn't that the entire conceit of MAGA? Is to take the entrenched elites out of the powerful positions and replace them with representatives of the people? And so who would think that in Trump's second term, after his third run, after getting shot in the head, indicted, all these things, he's taking us to war in Iran to die, to spend money, lose equipment for the Iranians' right to freedom, for the Iranians' quality of life. And we all know the answer to this question. It's not rhetorical. Do you want to know who thinks this is a good idea? Do you want to know who this is a golden age for? For Israel, for the Jews. That is who has pushed us into this war. As a matter of fact, that's why we have the Trump administration. Why do you think Miriam Adelson gave Trump $100 million in this cycle? Why do you think she gave him $100 million in the first place in 2016? They have been paying the Republican Party this entire time to sabotage our relations with Iran, to rip up the original nuclear deal, to kill Qasem Soleimani, to bomb Iran's proxies, and ultimately, in the long term, to bring us to war. That is Iran's enemy. And understand what is happening here. When Iran's regime is toppled, Israel becomes the regional hegemon of the Middle East. Do you know what a valuable gift that is? Think about all the oil, all the natural gas. Think about all the money in the Middle East, all the money from their sale of oil. Think about all the trade routes. Think about all the sea routes going through the Red Sea, going through the Persian Gulf. Think about all of the trade that happens in the Indian Ocean and the Eastern Mediterranean. Think about all of the rail, the highways. Think about all the other utilities that run through the Middle East that are going to connect in the future Asia, Europe, and Africa. Israel is being handed that region on a silver platter. They will be, speaking softly, carrying the big stick in the Middle East, running the show over there. So who does this benefit? Not us. That's not our golden age. That's a golden age for them. Our equipment, our lives, our money, it's our ass for their golden age to defeat their enemies so that they can expand their territory. They can control more seas, more oceans, more land, more trade routes. And it literally doesn't get more simple than that. This has been their mission since October 7th and even before that. They said after October 7th, we're going to change the status quo in the Middle East that has prevailed for the last 50 years. What did you think they were talking about? They were talking about land for peace. They were talking about Camp David. They were talking about the Islamic Revolution in 79. They were talking about Hezbollah in Lebanon. That is what they were referring to specifically. And all these wars that have been fought, they said it's coming to an end. We are going to inaugurate our golden age. They said Trump is our Messiah. He's our Cyrus the Great. Trump is our pagan Goy leader who will defeat the Persians and deliver a Jewish golden age. That's literally who it's for. And that's why Jewish billionaires paid for it. That's why the Jewish media stood down and acquiesced to Trump's return to power. And that is why you have the Republicans in Congress saying what they're saying. Look at Mark Levin on Fox News. Mark Levin is on Fox News telling everybody, you don't love America if you don't want Americans to die for Israel in the Middle East. It benefits them. And I told you this was going to happen. I said this in 2024. I said a vote for Trump is a vote for a war with Iran. And think of how they tricked you. This is part of it. These Zionist Jews, they LARP as right wing. That's what that is. Stephen Miller is a LARPer. They're all LARPers. Mark Levin is a LARPer. They drape themselves in the American flag. They drape themselves in the Constitution. They hide behind President Trump because they know he's popular. And they do all of this so that they can wrap their arm around your shoulder and say, hey, we need to go to war with Iran. We are in business together. We're going to make a deal. Trump is our president. This is what they do. They tricked you. They told you in 24, the Jews woke up after October 7th and we realized that DEI isn't good. We realized censorship and the left are out of control. And that's why we now support Trump. And you fell for that. Bill Ackman wrote a letter to Harvard, the Jewish Zionist billionaire, and said, I've seen the light. I've had an epiphany. The left has gone too far. He's a lifelong liberal Democrat. He saw the light after October 7th, but people said, oh, he's a Republican now. No, he saw the Republican Party as a vehicle to deliver Israel's agenda. Same thing with the frat bro uprising. Remember when everybody was protesting Israel on the campuses? And then this was rebranded as the frat bro uprising. A bunch of Jewish students went out to beat the shit out of Americans that protested Israel, and people said those are the based frat bros rising up for America and stuff, for bacon and for vaporwave. It's cool frat bros doing it for the 80s and aesthetics and whatever. And you fell for it. And that's what the Trump campaign was about. Mass deportations, golden age, all these promises. And what does it deliver? A war for Israel in Iran, right on schedule. A year and a half ago, people said, I just can't even imagine Trump bringing us to war in Iran. For regime change? That's insane. It's unimaginable. And now it's inevitable. Now it's unthinkable that we're not going to war. And that is because of the coercive influence of organized Jewry inside of our country, inside of our State Department, our National Security Council, our Pentagon, inside of our media, inside of the GOP, inside of our billionaire class. They are pushing us into a war. This is the problem. They have to lose their power. Somebody must be elected president running against this. In 2028, you cannot vote for J.D. Vance, J.D. Vance is gung-ho about this. He goes and makes a statement to the media yesterday and says, Iran can't have nuclear weapons, and we think that they're making them. He said when he was selected to be the vice president, he says, we got to punch Iran really hard. He went to the Quincy Institute and said, we got to let Israel take the gloves off and fight Iran. You think we can vote for this guy in 28? No, this is the problem. You need someone to run in 28 that is explicitly committed to disempowering these people. Someone needs to run in 28 and say, what the hell happened? We were promised a golden age and no new wars and peace, and somehow we got a regime change war in Iran. I don't care how it happens. I don't care how successful it is. We are tired of being a puppet of a much smaller country. We need a president who's going to root that out explicitly. That's what Trump was supposed to be. And he flipped. So that's the situation with Iran. I want to move on because it gets better. The same day as the situation in Iran is unfolding, we get the news that finally, in the drama over who will acquire Warner Brothers, the major media conglomerate, we have learned that in the end, the long shot bid placed by David Ellison's media company, Skydance Paramount, has now been accepted. And the Larry Ellison family will now acquire, in addition to TikTok, Skydance, Paramount, they will now also have Warner Brothers, that other media conglomerate. And they will form a super media conglomerate under the influence of two pro-Israel Jewish Zionists. And this is a story, this is from the Wall Street Journal. It says, quote, Paramount Skydance emerged victorious in the bidding war for Warner Brothers after Netflix said it wouldn't match the David Ellison-led company's latest offer for the iconic Hollywood property. Netflix pulled the plug on its deal soon after the Warner board of directors said it determined Paramount's $31 per share offer for the entire company was superior to Netflix's bid for Warner's movie and television studios and HBO Max streaming service. Pending regulatory approval, Paramount will own not only Warner Brothers and HBO, but also popular cable networks including CNN, TNT, TBS, and Food Network. The development marks a stunning come-from-behind win for Paramount. Jews win again. A major upset. The Jews have won again. Whoa, and no one could predict this. That's why we play the game, right? It's a stunning. I'm shocked. You mean to tell me Larry Ellison got his way? Stunned, shocked, amazing. It's a stunning come-from-behind victory for Paramount and the Ellison family, whose overtures had previously been rebuffed at every turn by Warner Brothers. After multiple unsolicited bids from Paramount last year, Warner opened a sale process that ended with Netflix as the winning suitor. When Ellison Skydance Media acquired control of Paramount last August, going after Warner became his top priority. Paramount was seen as too small to compete against Disney, Netflix, and Amazon. At that time, Netflix was facing an uphill battle with the Justice Department, which was reviewing the deal. So for those that don't know, Larry Ellison is a Jewish billionaire, one of the richest men in the world. I don't know where he stands currently, but he's one of the top 10 richest men in the world. He's got a couple $100 billion net worth. It comes from his software company, tech company, Oracle, which he owns and which he is the chairman and CEO of the company. And he is also a close personal friend of Benjamin Netanyahu. Very close friends. So close that Netanyahu brought his family to Ellison's private island to vacation. And Netanyahu called up Larry Ellison to get him out of a political jam in Israel. Go figure, the prime minister of Israel is under investigation by his own government. Who does he call to bail him out? An American Jewish billionaire, Larry Ellison. And said, hey, Netanyahu said, I need the Jewish lawyer that Arnon Milchan is hiring. Can you talk him out of letting that lawyer go so I can hire him? And Larry Ellison said, say no more, and made it happen. This is the relationship. Larry Ellison has given millions of dollars to the IDF. He even offered Netanyahu a spot on Oracle's board. So an American software giant that owns all your data, Netanyahu would be on the board of that company. At least Netanyahu turned it down, so it was offered to him. That's Larry Ellison. Last year, his son, David, who has his own media company called Skydance, they started a quest to create one of the biggest media conglomerates in the world. So Larry's son, David, has this Skydance company. He acquired Paramount, and that purchase was underwritten by his father, Larry. So they formed this conglomerate, Skydance Paramount. And with that, they got CBS, CBS News, the Paramount Studio, Paramount Plus, the streaming service, among other things. So now they're cooking. Now they got a little media conglomerate. This deal was finalized in August. You might remember, when they gained control of CBS News, they bought out Barry Weiss from the Free Press for $150 million, and then they made her the editor-in-chief of CBS News, where they started to change their coverage of the Israel-Gaza war and of the Middle East in general. Barry Weiss also brought on a new news anchor, Tony Dokapil, who is a pro-Israel Jew, who is involved in a controversy with Ta-Nehisi Coates in 2024. That was the move that happened last year in 2025. Then they launched a bid to acquire Warner Brothers. They wanted their media conglomerate to be even bigger. They said, if we want to compete with Amazon, Netflix, Apple, Disney, it's not enough to just have Paramount. Paramount is peanuts. They said, we need Warner Brothers. So they submitted a huge offer to acquire Warner Brothers Studios, Discovery Channel, HBO, HBO Max, CNN, TNT, TBS, all these properties under the Warner Brothers conglomerate. Skydance Paramount made a huge offer for it. Warner Brothers, receiving the offer, then opened up the bidding process, and they started accepting bids from other companies. Netflix came in with the better deal, and the board of Warner Brothers approved the deal. This happened in December. And so since December, Netflix was going forward to acquire Warner Brothers, and Skydance Paramount was out of luck. That is until the DOJ, the Department of Justice, under Pam Bondi, began to scrutinize this acquisition. And they started to say, maybe Netflix is engaging in anti-competitive practices. And maybe Netflix is going to be too big if it has HBO Max and Warner Brothers. And so there was this idea that maybe the deal might not be approved by regulators, ultimately, that are controlled by the Trump administration. Skydance Paramount, the Ellisons, were not to be deterred. So they came back with an offer that Warner Brothers couldn't refuse. And last week, they offered a vastly superior offer, much more money, and Warner Brothers is now taking the deal. They literally could not accept the deal because it's too much money. And so now you're going to have Warner Brothers, Paramount, and Skydance. This is in addition to, and I mentioned this at the top of the show, Larry Ellison's acquisition of TikTok. You might remember that back in 2024, the U.S. Congress banned TikTok from the United States unless its parent company, ByteDance, sold the American side of the business to an American company. And under Biden, in his last year in office, no such deal was able to happen. That is until Trump came into office, and Trump brokered the sale of TikTok's U.S. business to a newly created U.S. entity. He did that last year. Under the terms of that deal, Larry Ellison's company, Oracle, will receive alone TikTok's proprietary algorithm, and they will be able to modify it for U.S. TikTok users. What's more, Oracle already controls all of TikTok users' data in America, and Oracle will become one of the largest shareholders in the newly created U.S. TikTok entity. So Larry Ellison is by far and away the most important player in TikTok. He's got the algorithm, he's got the data, he's got the ownership, he's got the equity. So you've got Skydance, Paramount Studio, CBS News, Paramount Plus. Now you've also got Warner Brothers Studio, Discovery Network, HBO Max, and CNN, plus TikTok. All of that under Larry Ellison, the close personal friend of Netanyahu. It has come to pass. The Jews are once again in control of the media. Is that a hateful trope? Is that an anti-Semitic canard? It's just true. Larry Ellison and his son are Jewish. They are clearly partisans for Israel, friends with Israel's head of state, and they have accumulated in the span of a year one of the largest media conglomerates in the world, and they've already made editorial changes to make it more pro-Israel. Literally, what do you call that other than Jewish media? That's what it is. And consider the following. Think about what has happened under this Trump administration. Just take a survey. In addition to these developments, you might remember last year, after the war broke out in Gaza, there were all these protests against Israel on the college campuses at UCLA, at Columbia, at University of Pennsylvania, and the Jews were really unhappy about it. And they started talking about suing these universities under the civil rights law. And they talked about how these universities are anti-Semitic and they try to get the faculty fired. When Trump got elected, he used the Department of Education to withhold hundreds of millions of dollars from all the Ivy Leagues, forced them to come to the table and negotiate. Otherwise, they would go bankrupt, and forced universities like Harvard and Princeton and Yale to accept onerous restrictions on what they can teach in their Middle East Studies department about Israel and which groups supporting Palestine are allowed on campus and what kinds of things can be said during a protest, like from the river to the sea and so on. So you think about like a sampling of things that have happened under Trump since October 7th in 23 and Trump getting in office in 25, the Jews have recaptured the Ivy Leagues. Where there was an insurrection against Israel, it has been put down using the force of the Department of Education. Where there was a revolt in the media which is controlled by the left and maybe arguably criticizing Israel in some ways, on TikTok, where pro-Palestine content was more viral than pro-Israel content, now that insurrection has been put down. The algorithm is firmly under the control of Larry Ellison. The entire content creation industry has been vertically integrated under the control of the Ellison family. And in the Middle East, where the actual war is going on, once again, situation is under control. Whereas Biden was depriving Israel of 2,000-pound bombs, and he tried to deter Iran rather than bomb Iran, tried to make a deal. Now the United States is about to pursue regime change there. So think about who's up in this administration. The Jews have recaptured the Ivy Leagues, the media, TikTok, and the Middle East. And in every way, shape, and form, this has been helped along by the GOP, specifically by the Trump administration, by the executive branch. They have used the full force of the federal government, its education money, its DOJ civil rights enforcement, using its military, using its regulatory enforcement, using all of these things to further the institutional capture of Jewish Zionists over America. There's even other examples I mentioned earlier. Ronald Lauder, the head of the World Jewish Congress, his son is now the nominee to chair the Federal Reserve. At the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab has stepped down. He's been replaced by Larry Fink, the Jewish head of BlackRock. Everywhere you look, there it is. And you think about on the flip side, we are out here complaining about no mass deportations, no border wall, no tariffs, no middle-class tax cut, all these kinds of things. And in the meantime, there is a golden age, but it's happening for the Jewish nation. The Jewish nation they are getting everything they want and more. They are feeling pretty good. They have institutionally captured our elite institutions. They've got Harvard, they've got the cathedral, they've got the brains, they've got the military, the State Department, they've got the White House, the Federal Reserve, the World Economic Forum at Davos, they've got the Middle East. They are happy campers. Everything on their wish list, they've crossed it off in a year. And the voters, the forgotten men and women, the people of America, the white citizens of Springfield, Ohio, of Minneapolis, Minnesota, the besieged citizens of New York City, Chicago, LA, we're out of luck. Border wall hasn't happened. Mass deportations hasn't happened. National Guard deployments hasn't happened. Middle class tax cut, infrastructure bill, not happening. And Trump's biggest supporters are put in the position of making excuses. Well, you got to be reasonable. You got to be reasonable. You can't build a wall in a day. You can't deport 1 million people in a year. You can't. Selling us the short end of the stick here that we're always pulling. This is what I'm talking about. And at what point do you recognize that we are clearly the junior partner in this relationship? If the GOP is comprised of its Zionist controllers and donors and handlers, and its white voters, its white conservative Christian voters, who is in the superior position? It is clearly the Jewish handlers. They are in the driver's seat. They get everything they want, no matter how unreasonable. They get what they want when they want it quickly, and we are left making excuses. We are left coping and seething. Well, 1 million people left on their own, 1 million people massively self-deported. We are left doing these things, whereas Shapiro and Levin and Kushner and Loomer, they're happy. Whoa, regime change. And Larry Ellison's media empire and Barry Weiss at CBS and Harvard has banned anti-Semitism. Endless for them. And here's the little trick that they play. They make you think that you are giving them the power. There's a sort of false humility where we stupid idiot white people say, well, I guess I could tolerate Jews controlling our government if we get mass deportations. That's what people are saying. Am I wrong? They're saying, well, it's worth it. If we could get mass deportations, I'll tolerate some Jews in the administration. These are base Jews. These are Jews that agree with us. Howard Lutnick, Jared Kushner, Stephen Miller, Steve Witkoff. They're trying to help us. They're conservative. They're base. They're the good ones. I don't mind teaming up with them as long as we get mass deportations. And you think you are using them. You think that you are using them for your ends. Oh, we'll give them the paltry concessions if we get what we want. We'll reluctantly make that deal. But it is the reverse. They are using you. They are using your vote. They are getting you excited. They are getting you riled up about deportations and Somalian fraudsters and all this. They're whipping you up into a frenzy so that you will give them the political support to do the thing they actually want to do. They don't give a shit about tariffs. They don't care about mass deportations. You think they want America to be a white country? They don't care. They go to a Jewish country club. They don't care. They just want to trick the rubes into thinking they're getting a nativist administration so that they can hire all of their people in the positions that actually matter and do the favors for themselves, give the patronage to their own people. They can secure the ascendancy of their own tribe. And how many times do we have to go over this? How many times do we have to learn that lesson? People say, well, what's the alternative? The alternative is that we use our power. The alternative is that we tell the GOP, if the GOP wants to succeed as an institution, it has to be what it says it is. The GOP will die if it doesn't become America first. We have to literally put a gun to the head of the GOP. I'm not fucking around, okay? That's how it has to be. What other option do we have? We've tried everything else. You need to figuratively put a gun to the head of the GOP and say, give us the party or else. This is a takeover. This is a hostile takeover. This is a hostage situation. Give us our party or you fucking die. Metaphorically, politically. I'm not insinuating violence, but that is, we need a coup of the Republican Party. We need a palace coup. We need to, again, metaphorically, this is what I say every night. We need the young men that are watching this show to join the ranks of the party. Go to your college Republicans. Go to your young Republicans. Be an intern. Go on a campaign. Volunteer in the administration. Build up your resume. This is like we are storming the palace, raising up the army. We are raising up the militia figuratively, and we're telling them, listen, your reign is over. You got two options. The GOP will be destroyed or it's going to be America first. End of list. There's no third option where we vote for the lesser of two evils. That's not happening. There's no other option where we get reasonable and you talk us in off the ledge and we say, oh yeah, I guess we were a little hasty. You know what? We should just give you a vote one more time. I think they're going to do it this time. It's happened every single time that way. And you want to know where I'm getting this playbook from? It's coming from Trump himself. In 2016, you know what Trump said? He said, if I don't win the GOP nomination, I'll run as an independent. And they said, but Mr. Trump, if you run as an independent, surely Hillary Clinton will win. And you know what Trump said? Yeah, but I got a lot of leverage, so I want to run as the Republican. And if not, maybe I'll run as an independent. Don't tell me this is some crazy idea. Don't tell me this has never been tried before. That was the foundation of this movement. And let's not pretend like they gave it to Trump. Trump did what I'm talking about doing in 2016. The GOP tried everything to cheat him, deny him. They tried everything to stop him. And in the end, many of them didn't even vote for Trump. Ben Shapiro didn't vote for Trump in 16. Neither did J.D. Vance. Neither did many of them. They were perfectly willing to let a Democrat win in 2016. They were never Trumpers. Don't forget that. They were ready to roll 8 years of Obama into 8 years of Hillary Clinton. And they said, well, we'll just suck it up. And now those same people tell us you can never do that. You can never vote for a Democrat. You can never not vote for the Republican. You have to vote Republican. The alternative is catastrophic. Really? Well, where was that energy in 2016? Before you knew that Trump was a Shabbos goy, you were willing to let Hillary Clinton win. How is that any different? How is it any different that the never Trumpers were pleased? They were satisfied and smug, knowing that they might guarantee the election of Hillary Clinton, and they were fine with that. But now you suggest we sit this one out because we're getting a war with Iran and no mass deportations, and people try to tell you you're a Democrat, you're a plant, something like that. They're gaslighting you. They're gaslighting you because they don't want you to have what you're entitled to. So you want to translate this mass awakening into political success? It starts with saying no. It starts with saying no to an administration that does nothing for you. It doesn't care about you. It doesn't even like you. As a matter of fact, it wants you dead. You are worthless to these people. Larry Fink, Howard Lutnick, Jared Kushner, Stephen Miller, these white people that worship Stephen Miller, he looks at you like a bunch of goyim because it's what you fucking are. He looks at you like a bunch of stupid goyim that are going to empower him and his friends so they can have their war for Israel. And that is his MO. So it starts with saying no. I'm not going to vote for the Iran war candidate. I'm not voting for the Larry Ellison candidate. I'm not voting for the Alan Garber candidate and the Kevin Warsh candidate. I'm voting for someone who's America first. I don't care who it is. I'm voting for the guy that's going to say America first. And I won't vote for anything less. At all. They say lesser of two evils. Who gives a shit? They wanted to let Hillary Clinton win. We would have been fine then. We'll be fine now. So that's the message of the show. But we're going to move on. We're going to take a look at our super chats. We'll see what you guys have to say about all this. Let's take a look. That's my go off for the night. But seriously, like, how do you not recognize it? How do you not? Everything I just said is a fact. What has this administration done other than secure the ascendancy of Jewish elites? Nothing. Nothing. Here's your little party favors, Goy. It's ridiculous. Wake me up when Springfield gets liberated. Are we still even? They don't even talk about it anymore because they got your vote. They got your vote, so now they're done talking about it. All right, we're going to move on. Let's see. Let's take a look. Let's see what you guys got going on here. Let's see.
Classic Big Beba sent $20. Huge support from the Eastern Shore of Maryland. Thanks for your hard work.
Hey, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it. Never been up there. I guess I've been to National Harbor. Is that the Eastern Shore? I don't know.
Gambling Goblin sent $20. Just finished reading River of Darkness by Buddy Levy. Pizarro and Oriana were top tier wanks.
I don't know that one.
JJ Zane sent $25. What's up? Just wanted to send a super chat. Have a good night. Peach emoji.
Thank you. Appreciate
Base
it.
Wang sent $20. Hey Nick, if we attack Iran, I'll unfortunately have to go. Not to be gay or anything, but I've written you in my will for 25% of all my money. Talk about loyalty. It's to the grave, my nigga. Saluting face emoji.
What does that mean? You're going to be in the war? I don't know what you mean by that, but listen, I disavow all violence. I disavow all political violence. Okay,
Frankie
I don't know what you mean by that. Kind of
Crime and punishment that I think describes the low IQ anti-Semites you've had issues with. The numerous and varied legion of dullards, of half-animated abortions, conceited, half-educated coxcombs, who attach themselves to the idea most in fashion only to vulgarize it and who caricature every cause they serve, however sincerely.
Yeah, that's kind of accurate. I guess we've been dealing with that problem for a long time. I guess there's really nothing new under the sun, huh? Attach themselves to the idea most in fashion only to vulgarize it, caricature every cause they serve. That is pretty on the nose. That's looks maxing, inceldom, that's this. That's very true.
$20. Erica is actually Charlie Kirk's dad confirmed.
Dude, that's crazy. Yeah, Charlie Kirk was married to his dad, just like Emmanuel Macron. I'm shocked that it went there.
C. or Groy $20.
Surprised,
You'll have to
really.
take my word for it, but L. Ron Hubbard reincarnating as a semi-literate black woman is on my 2026 bingo card. All I need is Paul Town intentionally triggers the singularity and I win a set of steak knives.
Okay.
Rape Sneeko sent $25. Rape and pray for Sneeko.
No,
Order doesn't matter, as long as it gets done.
Come on now. No, we're just praying. We love Sneeko, but it's these Muslims, man. He called me a LARPer. Me, a LARPer? He goes, you're not a Roman. Your name is Fuentes. Brother, my mom's line is from Italy. Where do you think Rome is? Hello? My mom's line. My mom's 100% Italian. I'm literally Roman. You, on the other hand, think you're Malcolm X. Can we just say that? You look Asian and you think you're Malcolm X. You want to talk about LARPing? Don't use that word with me. Do not use that word with me. Did you just say LARPer? I know you didn't just say LARPer. Don't use that word with me. Bro thinks he's Malcolm X. Dude, you're not even African American. You are Haitian. You are a toy. You are Haitian. You think you're Malcolm X? You are not an African American. You're like Obama. You're like Barack Obama, bro. half white, half non-white, and not even black, but like, global citizen black. You're like UN black. You're like a fucking world baby. You're a United Nations baby. Little bit of Filipino, little bit of Haitian, little bit of this, little bit of Hungarian Jew. I'm the LARPer. You think you're Malcolm X with the whole costume and everything. That's crazy. Now I am, and by the way, Spain, Roman. Hello, Spain, Italy, Roman. So that's crazy. Don't use that. Don't use that word with me. You take off your thobe before you call me a LARPer. You put down the Zamzam and you take off the thobe and your Malcolm X glasses. Then you can call me a LARPer. Don't use that word with me. I say that affectionately. I like the Malcolm X LARP. But I saw that. I was like, are you kidding me? Okay, so we're really doing this. We have to open up a can of whoop ass on Sneeko. We're really doing this. Hold my wig. Hold my, what's his name? Anthropomorphic. What the fuck is his name? Androgenic. Hold my androgenic wig. Gonna have to throw the fuck down with this nigga. No, we love Sneeko. It's all love. It's all love. But LARP, don't use that word with me, pal. Those who live in glass houses. I like the LARP.
T-Night sent $20.
I think it's charming.
Rape Sneeko today.
No, come on.
George sent $30. Iran taco?
I think we're going to get it, but we'll see.
Neophyte 1 sent $20. Sunny Faz mocks the hypostatic union, yet he believes God in his being has literal hands, feet, and a shin. These Salafi idiots think monolatry of a sky giant counts as monotheism.
Yeah. Well, their religion is crazy. I mean, you know what they believe about Jesus? They believe that Jesus... Well, first of all, why do they think that he was sentenced to death? Muslims claim Jesus never claimed to be God. Oh, okay. So if he never claimed to be God, why was he sentenced to death by the Jews? Then they say, oh, well, the gospel is revealed and Jesus is the Messiah and a prophet and everything. They say, but he never claimed to be God. Okay, why did he get sentenced to death? Oh, I don't know. Okay. They say that when he was crucified, do you know they believe that at the last minute, a body double was crucified instead? A body double. It's the Candace Owens religion. They believe that at the last minute, Jesus was rescued from the cross, ascended into heaven without dying, and a body double was killed. A body double. So how do you do that? How do you get a... And what's funny about this is they've literally inverted the Jesus story, which is that Jesus arrives to die for our sins, to atone for us, and that shows God's self-giving love, hence the Trinity, the eternal, overflowing, self-giving love of the Father to the Son, and which is symbolized in the crucifixion of Christ, giving his Son for us. They flipped it on its head. No. Jesus said, see you later. Jesus said, they expect one of us in the wreckage, brother, and he literally had someone else die in his place. So, and how does that even make any sense, they say? So it's like on the level of Mormonism. It's just totally unserious and it's ridiculous. And Sonny Faz, dude, it's going to be glorious. It's going to be glorious when he is captured by ISIS. I'm kidding. Oh, he got really freaked out by that. The other day I said, I hope they chop off his head. I said, I hope they go like Jamal Khashoggi on him. And he was like, I can't believe he said that. It's jokes, buddy. I'm just kidding. Okay, pal? Because that's what Muslims do. They cut people's heads off. They destroy monuments. Okay, ISIS is Muslim. So that's what I mean.
Shoeless Joseph sent $25. It's unfortunate that you can't proudly proclaim where the merch is made anymore. It was my favorite part.
Okay, thank you.
Neophyte 1 sent $20. Sneeko and Sunny Faz are okay with colonialism, imperialism, and slavery so long as it's Arab Sunnis, and not white Christians, doing it.
Literally, bro. Literally. 100% true.
Orion Morales 085 on X sent $20. Sage seems like a good match for you. She looks Italian and almost transitioned, which means she has a man's brain.
Well, she clearly recognizes that it's better to be a man. So as long as we can recognize that fact, then yeah, we could probably understand each other. She said, I hate being a woman. I want to be a man. It's like so true. Like, who wouldn't? Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. She hasn't hit me up yet. She hasn't hit me up because I'm a fucking unfuckable loser incel that she wouldn't even shake a stick at, you know, wouldn't even give me the time of day, probably doesn't even know I exist. It's all for nothing. It's like I don't even exist. I'm invisible. But that's okay, but it's fine, you know, but it's fine. But it's fine. I watch her from afar at the State of the Union. Yearning, longing. Such is the life. Such is the life of an incel, of a driver. I don't carry a gun. I drive, okay? No, but we'll see. Who knows? Maybe one day. Maybe one day. Alas. You know, I was looking, hey, speaking of which, speaking of shortcomings and insecurities, speaking of that, did you see this? Clavicular posted today a before and after picture of him. And the before and after picture was like, this is Clavicular in 2024. This is him in 2026. Okay, and I'm looking at the picture. I'm literally about to crash the fuck out. I'm looking at the before picture. You know what I see? I see a basically good-looking guy that is 6'2" and muscular. So what is this looks maxing you're talking about? You lost 15 pounds? Looks maxing, your orbital whatevers are... Okay, so look at the material he was working with. You're already 6'2". You're already pretty good looking. You're already what was he? He was a bouncer. You're already a big, thick guy. You're already a hunk. Pause. You're already no homo. Not to be like the ASU frame mogger. Did you see that? What the fuck? More on that in a moment. But it's like, you're already a Chad. You're already a Chad. So, I put lifts in my shoes, and that took you from what, 6'2" to 6'4", motherfucker? Oh, I leaned out. I lost some of the fat in my face, otherwise known as going through puberty, otherwise known as... This is the black pill, okay? Aggie, if you can hear me, you were right about everything. You were right about everything. Incel rage. Incel rage is back. Okay. Anyway. But did you see this thing with the ASU frame mogger? What in the fuck is going on there? I saw this video. So he's got like a Jewish sidekick. And dude, they're in the car together. And the ASU frame mogger's like calling out androgenic or whatever. I don't even know the guy's name. But the frame mogger is calling him out, and the Jewish sidekick is like playing with his hair. I'm sorry, what? Literally was like twirling his hair. Literally had his like hand on his neck and was like doing this. And it's like, listen, I know I'm not one to talk, okay? I know people say I've had moments. I don't really know what you're talking about, but it's like, but that's crazy. People get on my case because I'm smiling and I look at my friend in a loving way, you know, because I'm a loving guy. People get on my case because I'm like, you know, because I look at somebody smiling and they say, he's looking at him in a gay. Dude, twirling the brother's hair with your fingers. I know I've never done that. So what's going on there? That was crazy. That was actually crazy. I thought I was watching Call Me By Your Name. I thought I was in theaters, Call Me By Your Name, back in theaters. Because that was next level. That was crazy. And he was in the middle. It was so funny because he was in the middle of calling him out. He's like, androgenic, you don't mog shit. Dude, can you stop? Can you stop playing with my hair? We're live. That was wild. So anyway, yeah, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on with our looks maxers. One of them's getting his wig snatched right off his head. The other one's getting his hair played with. and isn't even white. The guy's a, fucking towelhead. So clearly Clavicular emerges as the figure of our age. Clearly he emerges as the dominant figure of our age. In the age of Braden Peters, truly.
Catherine Alexandria sent $20. W. Sage. Imagine escaping the transpocalypse, being so chill and beautiful at Sotu, meeting the emperor of the All-America's empire, then ascending into greatness. The Groypats are rooting for you, Sage.
Let's just not overdo it, okay? If we look too thirsty, we can't look too desperate, okay? Let's just let the game come to us. The clip is out there.
Catholic Taliban Groy sent $40. Pray for and rape Sneeko.
No, just pray.
American Bitcoin
Just
sent $20.
pray.
Humanity isn't ready for mass racial intermingling. Colorblind unity is ideal but impossible while war exists. Mass Bitcoin adoption could end war by removing financial incentives. Until then, races should largely stay separate to avoid inevitable violence. This is the truly humanitarian stance. Selective immigration only.
Mass Bitcoin adoption will end the race war. That's a new one. I've heard a lot of Bitcoin theories in my day. Bitcoin is going to end the race war. I don't know if Bitcoin's going to do that. Can do a lot
It's
of
me,
things.
Ryan Gosling sent $20.
Not
Daily
gonna
Breaking
do
Points
that.
listener here. Noticing the antagonism towards the crew. You have any questions I can send some super chat answers. Not too many, I'm a brokey. You are right. Don't underestimate their intelligence. Super smart crew. Sagar rivaling you maybe. Their geo-analysis basically mirrors yours. Good show TBH.
It's good when the women aren't talking. It's Crystal Ball is a knucklehead, but Ryan Grimm's good. The problem with the Indian is he's seething all the time. He's like seething, calling me a racist. Here's my problem, okay? Because I do like some of their coverage. Like, I watch their show. I like their coverage in general. But they're not ready to talk about the problems with the left. You want to be liberal, that's fine, honest to God. You want to be liberal, knock yourself out. But what is with this anti-white stuff? Ryan Grimm is going to support Ilhan Omar. What do you have to say about her antagonism towards white men? That's bullshit. And you can't have that. If you want liberalism to be attractive, it can't be anti-white. And I don't even want liberalism to win. I'm not saying it like I do, but they have this message like, well, we're normal and we're liberal and we're tolerant. Okay, but where do the white men fit into it when you're calling us disgusting and the enemy and dangerous and attacking our heritage? So there just seems to be no recognition of that, and that is the problem.
Brandon06 sent $20. We understand Sneeko has been real, but do you really think he's a smart guy when he endorses Candace? Says America isn't inherently Christian, and shills for Somalis. Just a third worldist.
He's got this like chip on his shoulder. I don't know what his problem is.
070/ sent $20.
With
Have you seen all the John Kiriakou clippers? Money spent to gain youth recognition. I bet he'll announce a run for something as a lib/and change candidate, jailed me / by Obama / did the right thing / etc.
Yeah, it's all a conspiracy, bro. He's a conspiracy too. Everything's a conspiracy. I know.
Sent $20. Take the gold in abundance.
You know, the deal just fell through. The person who was doing the deal just like misrepresented it to us, basically. We thought we were getting one thing. We got far less than the intermediary said we were getting. So I said, it's not worth it anymore. So I don't even think we're going to do it. You know what the problem is? This is what you'll find. I shouldn't have even said anything. But what you'll find in this industry is people are just time wasters. And people just come and say, hey, we're going to give you all this money. And then they just don't. So it basically just never materialized.
Jan Michael Vincent sent $20.
I'm going to get blamed for it forever anyway, though.
Jan Michael Vincent sent $20. How are we supposed to contact you if we have services to provide for the movement? I don't expect you to be checking Twitter DMs.
Well, I do. And you could shoot me an email also.
Noah sent $20. The Treaty of Tripoli was only written to protect our ships / trade in the men and avoid a holy war. Secularizing the gov was done to prevent friction between the denominations of an already majority white Christian country. Everything I see from Sneeko lately is just third world slop going after you.
It is.
America or whites.
Well,
Hell.
and that's my thing. It's like I have no beef with Sneeko, but every so often he just starts this up again where it's like we're making fun of Jesus, we're making fun of Christianity, America shitting on the West. And it's like, you know, we can't take that laying down. So it's always this antagonism.
Nick Birch sent $20. Hey Nick, love the show. Keep up the good work. Why are communists incapable of understanding the difference between being a colonialist and a Zionist? Are they willfully ignorant or retarded? Anyways, I watched La La Land because of your high praise of it and it was fucking gay as fuck.
Well, you didn't get it. That's okay. It wasn't for you. It's not made for you. You should be watching the football game in gym shorts. That's maybe more your speed. Can I get you Miller Lite to go with the gym shorts and the big game? You fucking stupid idiot, you Philistine. It wasn't for you. Go watch Fast and Furious 17, dumbass. Maybe you'll appreciate that. La La Land is who we are. It's our heritage. That's Los Angeles. You know, and you want to know what else? You want to know what else? Let me tell you something. I'm going to tell you something about La La Land. Do you remember when La La Land came out, it was competing with Moonlight? And what was Moonlight? It was the wokest, gayest, blackest, most niggered up movie you've ever seen in your life. This was peak Obama wokeness. And La La Land was so refreshingly white. So refreshingly white and beautiful. And it was an homage to America. Singing in the Rain, Hollywood, LA, the city of stars. That's a story of us. That's a story of America. People that moved to LA in search of a dream, just like how the settlers moved to America in search of a dream. LA, the frontier, where dreams are made and people go there seeking glory and fame and recognition. And it's an homage to these people in this town and our American way of life and our dominant culture. In the same year that you had Moonlight, which was gay niggas kissing. Gay niggas kissing the movie. So that's why La La Land is important, okay? This is the importance of La La Land. You got gay niggas kissing the movie. Here's all the Global Globes. Here's all your Golden Globes, and the Oscar goes to La La Land is who we are, okay? LA, Hollywood, California. We have to have a global idea of America. Take pride in this. California is ours. It's American clay. The mountains, the beaches, the vineyards, the hills, the industry. I mean, that's who we are. That's America. When Europeans watch movies, they don't make movies over there. They watch American movies. They come here and they see the yellow school buses and the red fire hydrants. And they go, wow, it's just like the movies, because that's the long arm of America. It's who we are. And La La Land is a homage. It's a testament to the movie industry, to our glorious culture, to our way of life. It's a city of dreamers. LA is a city of dreamers. Well, at least it used to be. Now it's a city of, I don't even know what, Mexicans, Dodgers fans. Now it's a city of taco trucks and homeless people at Santa Monica Pier and, well, Jews, obviously. And, I don't know, like YouTubers. But at one time, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, LA is like where you went to make it big. I'm going to be in the movies. I'm going to be in show business. There's something romantic about that. You would recognize that if you ever yearned in your life, okay? Maybe you would appreciate this movie if you ever yearned, okay? If you ever had music in your soul, okay? You douchebag. You pretentious douchebag. So anyway, like I said, why did you go to Buffalo Wild Wings? Isn't there a game on to catch somewhere? It's hockey season somewhere. Isn't it football season somewhere? Shouldn't you be at a Buffalo Wild Wings or some sports bar in your basketball shorts watching something on TV? You fucking douchebag. Asshole. La La Land is for us. Anyway, so I love that movie. Great. It's coming back. It's coming back in theaters. So I don't know. Maybe I'll drop in and watch it. Regal Cinema's bringing it back to the theater. That's how I knew about. Okay, but it's coming back to the theaters. I'm going to watch it again. Great music. So fun. And it's what's not to like? It's Emma Stone. It's Ryan Gosling. It's the music's great. It's about LA. From the director of Whiplash. What's not to like? Tell me. Anyway, I thought it was fun. One of my all-time favorites. Definitely, I'm just like a big Ryan Gosling stan as well. I just Drive, Only God Forgives, Place Behind the Pines, Blade Runner. What else is he in? I'm just a fan. So anyway. But that's a good one. That's a good one. Pearls Before Swine. Exactly.
Dark Knight sent $25.
Exactly.
New to the movement here. Unapologetic white American. How did the Groyper movement adopt its frog mascot? What's the lore? AF.
Well, many years ago, okay, before you were born, when your mom and I were young. No, I'm kidding. Well, back in the day, you had Pepe. You had Pepe the Frog. You know, viral sensation. And then everybody created these variations on Pepe. And so you get Marv, you get Apu, you get Groyper. And one of the variations of Pepe it's actually called, Easter Toad. And for whatever reason, people started calling it Groyper. Nobody knows anymore. Nobody knows. The library's been burned to the ground and no one knows. And then I drew the first Groyper. I drew it by hand and I christened it Groyper. I came up with it myself, just came out of my mind. And Groyper, I created them. That's how I drew them. It's how I named them. And that was the name given to my fans, and the rest is history. And there's no other lore. And if you've heard of that, it's a lie. No, I'm kidding. There was a guy called That Groyper. I don't know who he is, but he just started calling it a Groyper. And then Groypers were just synonymous with like far-right, internet, Twitter posters. And then I just appropriated it during the Groyper War. My fans were going to the Charlie Kirk events. And during one of the shows, I said, imagine you're Charlie Kirk and you look out at the Q&A line and it's like 3 dozen Groypers ready to ask you about dancing Israelis. And at the time, I meant as like a joke, like ridiculous Groypers that are going to ask about Jews. I was like, that's so funny. And then it just stuck. So that's the history.
Gumble sent $20. Trump is losing the existential war at home. Anything aside from crushing the left is insignificant. AI is going to usher in a totalitarian surveillance state, and if the Dems get power, it's all over.
Dude, it's already over, okay?
JPool526 sent $20. You are my role model, Papa.
Thanks. It's already over for all
Ooh,
of
18
us.
sent $20. Candace doesn't believe a word she speaks, otherwise she wouldn't speak quickly. I see through her. She is a survivor and will discard her husband when the coffer's dry. Prob sue him over mold too.
Sue him over mold.
Shane
That's
Sutton
good.
sent $20. I keep seeing the Goyim say that Ghislaine Maxwell is not actually in prison and that the person we saw in the deposition video is a stand-in body double. Crazy work.
Yeah, that's just like next level.
Soul Stealer 82 sent $20. If we're attacking Iran, I just want for us to take all their riches and oil. Then let's deport the Indians to Africa, and the Africans to India.
Dude, that's delusional.
Schopenhauer pushing a woman down the stairs. Groyper sent $20. What is your favorite speech in the symposium?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you off the top
Hamby
of my
PG
head.
sent $20. RIP Squatty Potty.
I still got one.
Dollar Mike sent $30.
It's still good.
Early start. Looks like our powerful allies will only be sleeping until 11 tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm going to try to get the show started earlier.
MF Villainy sent $20. Sneeko is pushing it. This brown clown is literally showing in 4K how Islam took over the Middle East. Barely conscious inbred browns aligning with an ideological belief equally retarded as them.
Well, and they don't even make a defense of their religion. It's all just cheap point scoring. It's all just like, well, you're a hypocrite. Well, what about this? What about that? It's all just like these cheap deflecting things.
Nikolai Seal sent $50. Sir, can we get a statement on the creator of the Squatty Potty being arrested for CP?
Listen, we have to separate the art from the artist. That's always been my approach, okay? The art from the artist. Just because you squat to poo doesn't mean you're a pedophile, okay? It's natural. I mean, squatting to shit is
Leon sent
natural.
$20. This Blyat's only real
Okay.
interaction with the glorious Slavic people is when he was next to Luca at the stalls, caught a glimpse of his big bulk and cock, and his mouth watered.
Okay, what the all right, what the sometimes I just play these without even looking at them. Okay, thank you
Big
for
Luca
that.
sent $20. Beaner.
Yeah. It's true. It's true. Little bit of bean. Refried bean.
AR14 sent $20. Verbally abuse me if you've already spoken on this, but have you seen Matt Walsh's video on the achievements of white people? Dude is coming around. I'm sure he will be next to get axed by DW.
Holy delusional. This is like, it's so sad watching the Goyim get tricked and tricked. Sometimes I wonder how dumb these Goyim sometimes can be. Like, holy. Have you seen this Matt Walsh video about white people? I think he's coming around. You were just born to be deceived. You were just born. You're a shovel-faced idiot. You were born to be tricked. Like, what is there even to say at this point? After all of this,
Grover 7 sent
everything.
$25. The Great Awakening has happened, but as you said nearly every week, movements take time. Have a longer time horizon. It starts with 2026, but this is all long-term. Stay strong, you Slav apes. Also, Sage Blair sorta bad.
Okay.
DS sent $100. Will Eurogroypers be granted golden visas in 2036?
Okay, yeah. Thank you for the big super chat. Yeah, and then in 2036, then.
NJF is right about everything, sent $20.
Sure.
So many Muslims crashing out on you just for saying this is a Christian nation, lol. How is this even up for discussion? Goes to show these clowns don't give a shit about America or our people. Muslims have been seething online ever since Christians apologists have mainstreamed the Islamic dilemma, proving Islam to be false.
Very true. Well
It's just
said.
Corp sent $20. Big shocker. The Israelis are good at covering their tracks. Watch the close-up video and read the autopsy report. Yeah, they have alibis, but Charlie's assassination got their goy puppet elected.
Where's the evidence? Watch the close-up video. I did. He got shot in the neck.
Cantaloupe Par sent $20. Rape Diddy sprinkles.
Okay.
Just a girl sent $100. Dear Nick, very nice tie.
Hey, thank you for the big super chat. Just a girl, huh? I don't know. This tie sucks. This tie sucks. This tie's cringe. No, I'm kidding. Thank you for the big super chat. You like this tie? Yeah, it's all right, I guess. It's all right as far as ties go. Thank you. I appreciate it. Big shout out. The Groybettes were fighting the other day. I'm in a group chat with all these Groybettes. I pop in from time to time. And there was just this drag down. What is the expression? Drag down, knuckle down. What do they say about it? It was a fucking brawl. It was a brawl. Hair was flying everywhere. Bitches were getting smacked and scratched. Hair was being pulled. It was something. The Groybettes are vicious. I was like, damn. It was crazy. But yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thank you very much, W.
Basil
Groybet.
Negro Slayer sent $21. You sent one for Candace and two for Erica. But can a nigga get A67? Can a nigga please get a 1,488? And can we pretty please get a hashtag rape Sneeko?
Basil the Negro Slayer. That can't be the real Basil. That's too chud.
Nick's top guy sent $20. Sneeko is a complete subversive. Pushes Khazar theory, Islam takeover and multiracial working class anti-Semitism.
Look, he's my friend. He's my friend. I disagree with him, but we can be friends with people we disagree with, okay? And Sneeko's my bro. He's my brother. What up, brother? Bang. That nigga's my brother. You know, so listen. Some of these niggas, they're a little lost, but they'll find their way home. My nigga will find his way home. We'll leave a light on.
Kevin Lincoln Nelt Beyonce sent $22. Hey Nick, I'm a trad Catholic stay-at-home dad with 6 to 7 other grow-ipers raising our homeschool children to be freedom fighters in Gavin Newsom's California. What skills and strategies should we teach our children to fight the communists in California? I've had my kids read The Art of War, but I'm running out of ideas.
That's not real. That's not real. That is not a real super chat. That is rage bait. You are baiting me. You are intentionally trying to make me angry. I recognize that. I recognize that. And I'm not taking
Brent Peterson
the bait.
sent $100. Fuck both those lying ass bitches, is my vote. Both shitty and corrupt. Could have said 6 or 7
Yeah.
also. Unmute me on live chat, fag. America first.
I don't run the live chat. But thank you for the big super chat. Appreciate it. Thank you.
DS sent $20. Zerka vindicated on the square.
Zerka's got it. What's the guy's deal? This guy's got some big problem.
Cheney 51 sent $20. I watched
Let's solve it. You got a problem? Let's solve it.
Cheney 51 sent $20. I watched Candace's show just out of curiosity and to have a laugh at all the mispronounced words. But she is showing why women really should not be allowed to speak in public. No one benefits from it.
Well, you know what? In her defense, the latest clip, she said that she didn't know that thunder is the sound of lightning. Did you see this one? In the Candace Owens Trying to Read Twitter account, they found this old clip where she says, she goes, I don't know if this is a woman thing, but I didn't know that thunder is the sound of lightning. I never made that connection. In her defense, that is 100% a woman thing. Because women be not knowing anything. Women don't know shit. Every woman you will ever meet will eventually say something like that men will not. Women just don't have any intuition about the way anything works for some reason. There's like this test. They give this test to not college aged, but to women in college. And the test is they say, look at this bottle or glass. And they say, do you see where the water line is? They say, now, if you tilted the glass 45 degrees clockwise, they say, draw the water line. Where would the water be? And women in college reliably get it wrong. If you're a guy, what would you say? If you take a glass and you rotate it, where would the water line be? It would be parallel to the ground. Obviously. Parallel to the surface. Women draw it as though the water moves with the water, like the water level doesn't change. So it's like, that's a woman thing. Women just don't understand basic stuff like that. And you will be surprised at the things they don't know because they just don't really think, you know? So, in her defense, that's a woman moment. That's not even a dumb thing. That's just a total woman moment. Oh, thunder is the sound of lightning? I never, it's like you're 35 years old. You never made that connection. That's crazy. But that's women.
Cheney 51 cent $20.
Women be
I
doing
watched
that.
Candace's show.
I just read that one.
CE sent $20. Their only strategy is to lie and cover up. The day Epstein got killed, they said security guards fell asleep and the cameras were out and he suicided himself in perfect timing.
True.
Makes no sense, so it's no wonder people go to crazy conspiracies because all the top voices just lie or ignore.
Yeah, good
Snake
point.
Plissken sent $20. To clarify, Neither/Jezar was absorbed into the greater QAnon lore that thinks crazy shit along Candace Owens lines nowadays with reptilians and a shadow war against the cabal and aliens and shit. Also, new merch idea. Gangas in Groy Paras nigga going hard as fuck, for when the non-whites are down for the cause.
No.
Big Badinky Bones sent $25. Couldn't keep EHC down.
So true.
Gumble 2 Gumble sent $20. Tomorrow can you talk about Iran for the 6 millionth time? It's almost like Iran matters more than the left taking over the USA. Rome fell from within. Try focusing on America first. Go Indiana Bears.
That's crazy. That, oh my gosh. Okay, well, you're just an idiot for even thinking that out loud. Sorry. Let me get back to the news that really matters. Forget about the imminent war in the Middle East with our military. Let's talk about that Super Bowl halftime show. It should be in English. Now to the stuff that really matters. I'm here to arm you with the facts that matter. The Super Bowl is in English. It's American. But why is the halftime show in Spanish? Can anybody tell me that? You're right. These are the real stories. Yeah. Enough about that war in the Middle East or whatever. That's over there. When I tuned into the halftime show, I was surprised that the entertainment was not right-wing.
Balding Schizogroy percent $20. I like Sneeko, but the Negro has been chimping out today about you talking about Muslims in Times Square, not the Jews. As if we never talk about the Jews' holy brown clown moment.
That's what I mean. It's always deflection. Well, what about the Jews? We don't want either of you there. Hello. And the Jews doing the thing in Times Square is the least of what they do. As if we don't talk enough about Jews. Insane.
Steelstad sent $20. Can you name the 4 state capitals that have the same first letter as their respective states?
I don't know, dude. That's just trivia, okay?
Noah Clark sent $25. I like
could.
Sneeko, but he is intellectually dishonest about church history and American history. Prayers for Sneeko that God would soften his heart to accept Jesus as Lord.
Yeah, very true.
Kirkfied Groy percent $20. Sup Nicker. Please stop talking about Candace. I'm so bored of that woman. I hope she and Erica kill each other. Shabbos Kessenbaum has been daring you to a debate on X without tagging you. Are you game?
No, he's an ankle biter. He's a Jewish ankle biter. Why don't you talk to your Jewish handlers and they could give you a media career? I'm not giving a Jew a ladder up to success. Who are you? You are suing Harvard. In the grand scheme of things. What does that do for me? You have no clout. You have no fucking fans. You are nothing. You think you have a debate with me because you're a fucking Jew that's suing Harvard for racism? Fuck you. Jews are so entitled, they think I'm going to help them. Where were the Jews helping me? I was challenging Jews to a debate. They tried to destroy me. Yeah, okay. Why don't you call your uncle, see if he could get you a job, dumbass?
Noisy 95 sent $20. Violently grape Sneeko and then pray for him as he's...
Okay, come on.
Cubby 1369Y sent $20. Candace strikes again. She pronounced it imagery instead of imagery. Bitches tard maxing.
Probably a flub. I didn't see the
Taylor
clip.
Worth sent $30. I wasn't thinking anti-revolutionary thoughts, but I'll self-flagellate just in case. Also, Oliver Anthony made a lot of money off the song You Hate, then his wife divorced him and took half his shit. He made a song about it called Scornful Woman XD.
That was awesome. That was a W. Well, it's kind of gay, but I kind of like that he trashed his wife.
Zionist sent $100. There is a restaurant on Harlem and 85th and Bridgeview called Holy Pino's Halal Mexican Grill. I don't remember seeing that. It looks new.
Yeesh.
I think the name is hilarious, and the concept is amusing. If Sneeko comes to visit, you can buy him a taco.
Yeah.
Just keep in mind that they are closed for lunch during Ramadan.
Hey, thank you for the big super chat. I will not be going there. We have plenty of good Mexican restaurants that are not. That's just like an abomination. That is just abominable. You start going south on Harlem and you get into this weird territory where you're like, where the fuck am I? Like, I'm in the Middle East. So I don't even go that far south on Harlem anymore. Or even out that far west. You start to get over out into like Lombard and out there. And it's like Muslim takeover.
Tyler Jordan sent $20. Is there a threat of Russia and / or China coming to aid Iran? Bricks?
Nope.
Basil sent $20. They thought they had seen the last of me. Birthday wishes to come true.
Happy birthday, King. Free Basil till it's backwards. Hey, Dub, by the way, you're welcome that I hooked you up. But it's true. Imagine shooting a man with your last bullet. Basil stands there unfazed. The Taliban wins again. Taliban wins again. Hey, hook me up with little Taliban money, okay? Can you hook a brother up? You know, Saudi Arabia's not calling. Russia's not calling. Iran's not calling. Can you hook a brother up? Can I get a little Taliban money? Or at least like an F-35? I mean, can I get some of the stuff they left behind over there? No, but I'm kidding. Congrats. Good to see you back, buddy.
Big Biggie Bones sent $100. Jews are trying to one-up our number one anti-Semite Walt Disney now? Nah, us rich goyim need to get our arms around this.
Hey, thank you for the big super chat. Yeah, very true. Very funny. That's
Francesco sent $100. Found a cute little groyper buddy outside my house last night, like an actual frog. Relax. Brought him inside and he just sat in front of the screen staring at you for like 40 minutes of the show. He knew he was watching the Supreme Groyper Leader. True story. Not even a bit. W show. W frog.
That's cute. We like frogs. Thank you for the big super chat. I appreciate it. W frog. Animals love me. Animals love me. I'm a lovable guy. So, that's nice. That's a sign.
Koji Fushiguro sent $20. If you had to guess, when do you think is the latest a U.S. strike could occur? Mid-March? Or could you see this stretching out till the end of the month?
Why you want to bet on Polymarket?
Yabbers 54 sent $150. Fuentes is our voice. Nick Fuentes / Maitan even collab?
Hey, thank you for the huge super chat. You know, I actually met him. I met him at the NYYRC gathering. And he's great. Very funny. Very funny, very precocious. So I'm a fan. I wasn't really sure about him, but he was cool in real life. I don't know. I feel like he's just going to clown me, and I'm just not going to be able to deal with that. Like you know what I mean? So I think about doing his show. I mean, I don't know if he's invited me or not, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like that. I'm not mentally durable enough
Jan
for
Malinowski
that.
sent $20. Hey, Nick. Great show tonight. Big fan. Trump's tariffs have brought in record revenue at the highest rates in 100 years and triggered $18 trillion in investment over the next decade. Seems successful to me.
That's just so insane that you would even say that. Those are just numbers in a press release. $18 trillion in investment. Oh, by the way, all those foreign investment numbers are fucking fake. Literally Google it. Those are all inflated. When they say we're bringing in $18 trillion in investment, they'll typically take a deal that has already been made or product that is already being purchased, and then maybe they'll increase it like 10%, and then they'll take credit for the whole sum. So that is totally inflated. Just, you don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. That's one. And yeah, we've had no tariffs. We had tariffs. Now we got to give all the revenue back, stupid. They brought in more revenue than any, and we have to give it back with interest. The tariffs brought in all this revenue. Yeah. Well, that'd be a good thing. If we could keep it, we have to give it back and then some. But you're just literally guzzling propaganda. You are just a shameless glutton for propaganda. You're sticking your big snout in the trough, eating propaganda from the GOP. Their press releases, their bullshit numbers. They brought in record revenue. Yeah, did you see the latest? We have to give it all back and more. $18 trillion in investment. Fake. Google it. So, yeah, that's just crazy. You can't just uncritically consume press releases from the White House. That's what they do, okay? Trump always talks himself up. It's always bullshit. It's like the wall. There's no border wall. Oh, we finished the wall. No, you didn't. Then they count on suckers like you to just not do the homework.
Sosco Dadrian sent $20. Can you explain how supply of houses are going up but so are the prices? Is it the billionaires driving up interest rates?
Well... No, the Federal Reserve increased interest rates. That's a huge part of it. Okay, interest rates are higher than they've been in a very long time. You had near zero interest rates for basically 20 years. Ever since the housing bust in 2006, the Federal Reserve lowered interest rates to basically zero. And, you know, they went as low in 2020 as like 2%. And then when all of the COVID inflation happened, Federal Reserve ratcheted up the rates. And so it became more expensive to borrow. And then the other problem is that demand is outpacing supply. So they're building more houses, but you have all these people coming here. And a lot of it is zoning. A lot of it is a zoning issue in particular cities. You know, they talk about we need to deregulate and account for these like missing middle type projects. Like, what do they call those? Like mother-in-law dwellings in the backyard and 2 or 3 unit apartment buildings and things like that. But yeah, interest rates are higher. Also, construction costs are going up. Insurance is going up. Homeowners insurance is going up because the cost of goods went up. Homeowners insurance is supposed to replace anything that's destroyed. Well, if lumber is more expensive, if copper is more expensive, appliances and chips are more expensive, then the insurance goes up. Construction costs have gone up. So there's a lot of reasons home prices are increasing. The billionaires drove up the cost. I don't think that really explains all of it, actually.
Spazzer sent $20. Sneako's friend the Warner who he stood next to at the Times Square event threatened to kill 2 Christian YouTubers God Logic and Drake,
Wow.
one of them in person. The fact that he hangs out with these mouth-breathing freaks is astounding.
Yeah, they're not, these people are bad news. Christians are like loving and decent. Muslims they have hatred in their hearts, a lot of them. Not all of them, but a lot of them.
Tommy Goy sent $40. You should do an interview with Andrew Wilson.
I would collab with him. I don't know about an interview. I think we both know each other. But I would collab with him. I like him. I like his wife, too. They're good people.
Basement Dweller sent $20. Dems rob you and give it to their degenerate voter base. GOP robs you and gives it to the global Jewish puppet masters.
Yep.
What's a righteous Chungus going to do?
Sit it out.
Almost Blue Grow Viper sent $20. The Muslims are treating what you said about Sunny as a death threat. These people are nothing but a liability.
That's totally insane.
Alex Pacheco sent $22. There's 3 white people that work in the kitchen at my job, including me, and we were talking about white people being the minority in America. You got brought up and everyone was saying how much they love you.
Wow.
I wasn't expecting that kind of reaction, especially from the colored people around Low.
Hey, dude, colored people love me. Colored people and niggas, they love me. Mexicans, because I'm a real, they know there's no hate in my DNA, but I keep it real. So we love the niggas. Thanks, I appreciate the love.
Joe Street sent $35. 80% of the Quran is plagiarized from the Talmud. Defending the line on YouTube breaks it down. Surah 2151 copied from Bereshit 38:13 during Fatra, which was originally a children's story.
I'll have to look
Jackson
at that.
402 sent $20. Praise be to Jesus. Praise be to Loe. And pray for Cody Wilson.
Is that guy that made those 3D printed guns?
Navarro 108 sent $20.
Or am I thinking of someone else?
Worship the creator, not the creation. Jews, not chief. We worshiping a calf. Jesus. Worship the creator, not the creation. Christians, not chief. DBD. We worshiping you. Be quiet. Twig.
I'm not even really following
Beat your
all
T6
that.
sent $50. Why don't you have a debate with Mohammed Hijab? It will be interesting thing. Then we will see how is true.
I don't really think he has enough clout for that. I think he's sort of an ankle biter. Also, theology is not what I do. I'm not a theological debater. I'm a political live streamer. So these people, they always want to go have a theological debate. And it's like, you literally do theological debates for a living. That is what you do. All you do is debate religion every day, giving dawah, debating these things. And it's like a debate bro thing. So, politics is what I do. My conviction is I don't want Muslims in America. If you want to debate about that, I'll debate that. I have not read the Quran. I'm not a Muslim. I don't know Muslim theology. Not very well. I know some of it. So if I were to do a theological debate, I would need to prepare for an extended period of time because theology is it involves historicity, it involves philosophy, it involves a lot of things, and you want to be prepared. So if I did a Muslim debate, I would want a higher profile opponent, and I would need some time. If he wants to debate about Muslims, maybe I would do a 2v2 with Sneeko or maybe something like that, and it would be about politics. Because I'm not here to say, I'm not even saying you can't be Muslim. You want to be Muslim, knock yourself out. I don't care. But the question is America a Christian country? Should we have these people coming here by the millions? And I think the answer is no. Then they want to make it about, I want to trap you into a semantic debate, and I'm not interested in that.
Mackenzie E sent $20. Did you get a haircut recently? You've been looking so good this week.
Thanks. Really? You mean it? Yeah, I got a little haircut. It's really nothing. Thanks. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I got a haircut last week.
Open Door 1235 sent $20. Tell me why. I'm stuck as a virgin with rage. Tell me why. I want a cute girl my age. Tell me why. I never want to hear you say, I have a boyfriend. Christian Weston Chandler.
Is that really? Did he say
NPN
that?
36 sent $50. The gayer you act with the bros, the straighter you are.
I think that is generally true. However, I think that is true up until a point, because that was wild. That wasn't like a, hey, we're being funny. That was like, it was just like a little, hey, I'm not saying they're gay. I'm just saying it was like, hey, yo, pause. That's all.
America Thirst sent $20. Will Cozy ever be fixed? The streams and replays no longer work. RIP Cozy if not.
Is it broken? Listen, Cozy is just a backup at this
Low
point.
IQ Grower sent $20. Matt 6 to 5 and when thou prayest, thou shalt not be as the hypocrites are, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and in the corners of the streets, that they may be seen of men. Verily I say
So
unto you,
true.
they have their reward. Perfect response for the Muslims in Times Square. Take that, Sneeko. Praying for you.
W.
Jedi Wine Tricks sent $25. A little birdie told me you and Clav have front row seats to the Elimination Chamber in Chicago Saturday and are gonna mug the whole time. Speaking of WWE, CM Punk is from Chicago and is posting about how ICE should leave Chicago. ESPN owns the rights now and Netflix broadcasts it worldwide, so you and Clav being there will be peak.
I don't know who told you that.
Desktop Jester sent $25. What is your proposition to dealing with African Americans policy-wise? I genuinely don't enjoy being around them, but do you think we can coexist, or does the egregious behavior make it impossible?
Yeah, we can coexist. We just need to arrest all of the worst ones. Because look, black people are being obnoxious. That's one thing. It would be less problematic if they weren't committing all this violent crime. That's priority number one. So we got to get control of the public transit, the cities, get the crime down. And then, we should just encourage a culture of consideration and respect and manners, and people should be shamed and maybe even arrested if they don't do that.
Randy X sent $20. Thank you for your service, sir. I hope you run for president, and we're all fortunate enough to see a new America under your movement. You've changed my life and I appreciate you.
Hey.
31-year-old from CA.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you.
Sent $50. Love from Georgia. God bless.
Thanks.
Garrett Notice sent $20. Wait until Muslims wake up to the fact their religion was invented by the Jews to counter the rays of Christianity.
But they're not ready for that.
Sent $20. Hey, I like La La Land in The Notebook.
I never saw The Notebook.
Gia Agent 7 sent $20. Knockdown Drag Out.
That's what I was thinking.
Low IQ Grower sent $20. I went down a black cube rabbit hole after watching your recent clip about it. Isn't it ironic that when you unfold the cube it turns into a cross? So the Jews and the Muslims are low-key worshipping Christ? W Jesus.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a stretch.
EHC Grower sent $20. Free me nigga. Griffin Fuller sent $20. Fuck knickers.
Okay.
Plague Roy sent $20. I love how like half of Hucker's DC and merch features quotes from your interview. Do you get a cut of the sales?
Yeah, I can't believe that's still up. I haven't seen that.
Nigel Chungus sent $20. Why do you want bro wipers to clean the goat shit off Sneeko's dick for him? He's your Fortnite duo, not ours.
Okay, that's crazy.
And Skipper
I don't
sent
think anyone
$20.
said
I'm
that.
a baby groiper where his mom sucky milky milky.
Okay.
Peterson sent $20. My dad died today. Can I get a hat for his memory? He was a wang if we watched you every day. He had leukemia. Skeptical thanks for everything you do, Christ is Kings. Merch would help.
Okay, that's crazy. That's actually
Alpha
crazy.
sent $20. Nick, have you ever tried Carnitas Don Alfredo in Stone Park? It's really good and they're opening a new location on Ogden in Brookfield. Worth a visit.
No, I haven't. I know where that is. I know exactly where Stone Park is. My go-to over there is a Totonilco, which is right there. But no, I've seen it. I drive by it all the time. When you go to the airport, when you're on Mannheim, right? I think that's where it is, right? Maybe I'm tripping, but yeah. No, I've never been there. That's not my spot.
Moshe Goldberg sent $20. Any opinion on the SSPX? They will consecrate new bishops. The Vatican doesn't want to allow it. Might be a schism.
I saw that. Yeah, I don't approve. I think it's, I've always said they're tending towards schism, and people said, they're not schismatic, they're in communion. And I said, yeah, but they're tending towards schism. And look at what happened. So I've never been a huge fan. I mean, in theory, I like what they represent, but it's too ideological. It's too divisive. Okay. All right, that's our last super chat. That's going to do it for me. Remember, as always, to smash the follow button, smash the like button, leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the show. Check out the merch store, Fuentes.store. I'm on the air Monday through Friday. As always, thank you to our top super chatters. Special thanks to Sage Blair, Nigersaur. I think that's from yesterday. Nigersaurus, Yabbers, Big Badinky, DS, Just a Girl, Brent Peterson, Zionism, and Francesco. Big thanks to them. Thanks to all our super chatters, everybody that watches. We love you. I'll see you tomorrow. Until then, have a great rest of your evening.
Americanism, not globalism, will be our credo.
Seems to me that talking about smoking weed and generations, it's like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic, wouldn't you say? Like to talk about that, the effect that has had on a generation, seems to me like missing the trees or the forest for the trees in the way. What about the ideology that women should abandon, producing the next generation so that they could have a fulfilling career, just like men, like that. I would venture to say that's, the more pressing problem is that women aren't having kids. I mean, like my dad yesterday was bitching and moaning about Homeland Security, like, oh, they're oppressing us and this and that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking to myself, man, what the, like, listen to yourself, like you're complaining, you're rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. We're fading away as a people, and you're talking about how the government is oppressing us. They're oppressing us with the arm that is tasked with preventing us from being swamped with incompetence and brown people. Like, I mean, it just I feel like, he's very, very perceptive guy, very intelligent guy, and his takes are always, they were always pretty unique. He always seemed to see things from a different angle. But lately, I just feel like he kind of has lost he's a boomer. He's kind of lost his grasp on, you know, what are the actual problems, that are facing us. Like, it just blows my mind, like, you're worried about homeland security oppressing us. And, a good point my brother was making to me, like, the government is here whether we like it or not. These fucking libertarians like Dave Smith, they need to dry up and blow away. Piss on that fucking turd. Please make it go away. Because arguing and bitching and moaning about the size of the government and this and that, it's like ignoring the pressing issue. Like, it's not going away. The only way to make it stop is to wield it as it is a tool. It's not going away. It's not going to stop. It's not going to get smaller. The only way to make it stop oppressing you is to wield it against the others. Like, seriously, the American government is not going away. It's not getting any smaller. We're not going to pare it down and work around the edges. No, we either wield it against others or have it wielded against us, and end up crushed beneath it. It's like we have been getting destroyed by our government, wielded by all these minorities and shit, all these other progressives, basically. And really, that's the critique of conservatives. They're too busy running their businesses. They're too busy at life, living life. Well, that's a problem because there's a lot of pieces of shit out there who don't have a life. As a matter of fact, they've made their life to destroy you, to destroy your way of life. So it's like, live your life and get on with things, but understand, that you ignoring politics is just making sure that your way of life doesn't exist in a short order, to be honest. If you have kids that are still in their childhood, chances are they're going to see the day when our way of life doesn't fucking exist anymore. And that seems to me to be like a Greek tragedy, and extremely selfish, to because believe it or not, even though things aren't as good as they have been in America, they're still a damn sight better than they could be. And to rob your kids of this, to condemn your kids to the progressive worldview, I, I mean, if you're not quaking in your boots for your children, I mean, do you love them? I kind of have to ask that question. Do you love them if you're not worried for them? Or are you not white? Like, straight up. Because if I had kids, I would be deathly afraid of what is in store for them. And I thank God that, I mean, it is the shittiest era you could possibly live in, but I shudder to think of what it's going to look like in 100 years. Unless we do something. Unless we do something. And that's kind of, there's a reason, like, that's why I don't black pill you guys. I'm never going to black pill you guys. I refuse to black pill. I know you don't come here for me to hear doom and gloom. You can do doom and gloom all by yourself. We can all do doom and gloom all by ourselves. You know, you needn't a shepherd to see the cloud. The shepherd is to find the silver lining, at least to my mind. And that's, you know, what I would like to be. And it would be kind of hypocritical of me to to critique Nick for something that I'm guilty of myself, you know, to get upset at him beating his doom and gloom drum or beating that horse to death and then just to proceed to do it myself. That would be, you know, ridiculous of me. And there are many, many great things about white people and about white Americans, Europeans, many great things. We brought so many great things to the world, including a lot of our ideologies. Like, one of my critiques of my dad is, his, the way that he thinks, I guess he doesn't realize it, but it's going to destroy his ideology or the way he thinks. It's going to wipe it from the face of the earth. His ideology is going to be the death of his ideology. Because this liberalism shit, this progressivism shit, we're dying. We're not having kids because of it. And when we disappear from this planet, liberalism disappears from this planet. You know, everything good on this planet will disappear from this planet with us. I mean, at least as I see it, as a white male, that's the way I see it. Maybe, some sand Negro feels differently about it. Maybe some Chinaman feels differently about it. I don't know. I know how I feel about it, though. I know that, and we have got to get our shit together. I mean, we have to take stock and get real. Like, we've been raised a certain way, and none of us wants to be distasteful. None of us wants to, we're quite a sheltered lot. I've never seen a dead body. I've never seen someone murdered or killed in front of me. I've never seen that. It's pretty sheltered. Killing is, honestly, I don't know if I could live with murder on my conscience. You know, I'm not sure if I could. I mean, perhaps I could, perhaps I couldn't. I could see that destroying me as a man, or at least mentally, I mean, really, I could see that destroying me. But I love my people so much that I'm willing to endure that. I'm willing to take those slings and arrows. I'm willing to die. If by my dying, we're on this planet for even a year longer, I would find that worthwhile, actually. I mean, I truly would, because, I think the future generation, they have a right to live. And I think it's like a Greek tragedy, all of the white children that aren't here today, because women think they're special. They think that they're more special than the future. They think their career is more important than other human beings having a chance at life. Other other people like us having a chance at life. To me, that's almost, I don't think there's a sin greater than that on planet Earth. To deny, especially in this period of time. It'd be one thing if it was the plague, although you'd have another set of reasons why you should be having kids. But, like, things are pretty good. And to deny, like, just to kill your children off. And I get not wanting to have kids, but if you don't want to have kids, you don't have unprotected sex. Like, And it does come from, women's, their lack of accountability, their poor sense of responsibility, poor sense of obligation. I mean, because honestly, it's not even a question in my mind. If I got a woman pregnant, abortion, that would not even cross my mind. It never would have crossed my mind. Even at 19, that would not have crossed my mind. Because why should another human pay for my mistakes? Why should another human be sentenced to death because I didn't have foresight or because, I didn't have the fortitude or the self-control to make sure that that didn't happen? I get maybe I'm an exception or maybe I'm, a small portion of the population, but I do things just a little bit more uh with a little bit more intent. Like I'm sure of things. I try to be sure of things before I make decisions, before I do something. I think about things. I'm introspective. I maybe, that's different, but I don't think so. And the fact that so many, like the fact that men allowed abortion to be legalized, and I get there's 1% of women that die from back alley abortions, but you know something, I think that's actually just. I think women should die for that. Truly. If you go and get a back alley abortion because it's illegal and you die, serves you right. Serves you right. And if you think that's an argument that's going to convince me to allow doctors to butcher the future generation, to just flush them down the toilet, you're sadly mistaken. And you're a fucking moron to boot. You lack critical thinking skills. I mean, really, and that just occurred to me, to be honest. I'd never even considered that, when they say, oh, what about the people who would die, this and that? And it's like, well, rightfully fucking so. They're trying to kill their child in the womb. They should fucking die for that every time. Really. I mean, and, to be honest, my mother had a couple of abortions, or so she says. I mean, not out of wedlock, but she did. And she regrets it. But, I say that even knowing that, it's evil. It's evil. It's unacceptable. And, you know, it's just the fact that there's a generation of American men that were willing to accept that is an abomination to my mind. And, it's just another reason why, and maybe it wasn't so much the men. Maybe the women, outvoted the men, or maybe, uh, maybe even if every man voted against it, it still would have gotten in. But then that's just an argument for why women shouldn't be allowed to vote if they're willing to. 'Cause, we have a lot of things that are made illegal. Murdering your child in the womb most certainly should be amongst them. Most certainly should be amongst them. And it should be one of the most shameful things a human could do. Like, it blows my mind that Democrats safe, legal, and rare. No, 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 no. The fuck are you talking about? Like, people should be held. There should be consequences to actions. You have sex without a condom. That's your problem. Deal with it. Deal with it. You don't get to you just kill people because you make a mistake. Like, men don't get that luxury. We don't get that luxury. We have to fucking lie in the bed we make. Always. And rightfully so. Rightfully so. You know, straight up. But women, they don't. They get to lean on us. They get to have us as the buffer between them and reality, them and God, so to speak. It's bullshit. And at some point, it's not. And what's funny is women that you would take our right to vote away, this and that. Hey, sweetheart, it's gone. It's gone. Whether you like it or not, whether we like it or not, whether I like it or not, you're not. Women aren't going to have the right to vote in a century, maybe less than that, maybe a decade, to be honest. But they will not, because, like I said, that ideology that produced women voting, it's killing itself. It's not going to be here in fucking 60 years, 70 years. And when it's not here, the barbarians take over. So your precious ideology, your precious progressivism, it's a moot point. It may as well not exist now. Why don't we just scrap all that shit? Because we would actually survive. It's like, this liberalism, this tolerance you preach, this Christianity you preach, it's not going to exist in 100 years. So why don't we just skip that bullshit, and start reproducing again? Why don't we go back to, I do think it's good to be a tolerant person, but not to your own detriment. Like, turn the other cheek. That doesn't mean you let people rape you to death. It doesn't mean you ship people in to rape your women and you to death, rape you into oblivion. That's stupid, to say the least. And you deserve to be gone from this earth like the snows of yesteryear. You kind of do. That's there is accountability in the aggregate. Yeah, there's accountability for us as individuals. There's also accountability in the aggregate. It's like, the early Americans, they brought Africans here because at the moment, it behooved them, benefited them. If they had known what would happen in the end because of that, they wouldn't have done it. They wouldn't have done it. Same thing as progressivism. Same thing as, probably all your family that has been, that more or less, tacitly endorsed progressivism. This fucking slippery slope that we've been going down since basically the Civil War. Really and truly, because that's when progressivism started, after the Civil War. Because nobody has stood up against this bullshit. Nobody has stood. It's like, it's fucking killing us. It wasn't for a long time. It wasn't until the 2000s. It wasn't until the new millennia that we started dying off. Because I remember when I was a kid in the 90s, we were still above replacement. We were. We were at like 2.2, 2.1, 2.2, 2.3. Like, literally the exact amount you must reproduce to reproduce yourself. So it wasn't technically it wasn't killing us until the 2000s. But really, if the rule brought you to the same place, what good was the rule? I think I butchered that. But, if the rule brings you, to your death, what good was the rule, sort of thing? Like, this progressivism, tolerance. We should be tolerant, nobody's an illegal, this and that, yeah, that's great and good to think, and all that. But if you thinking that way ends up with nobody thinking that way on the planet, then you need to stop thinking that way. You need to stop thinking that way, straight up. Because if anybody thinks that there's another population on Earth that is liberal, they're mistaken. They're mistaken. And if they love liberalism, if they love tolerance and peace and love and humanity, then they have to get a little bit intolerant. They're gonna have to be a little bit intolerant. That and not only that, but being tolerant doesn't mean that you have to endorse something. Being tolerant of rape is not tolerant. It's not. It's very intolerant of women. Straight up. Like I love women enough to not want them to suffer the fate worse than death. To not want some dirty savage population to replace me by raping my women or raping my people. Like it just there's so much wrong with this ideology, and it's like, when the fuck is everybody going to wake up to this, or are we going to wake up too late? Like I get women have been propagandized to think having a job is the only way to live life, the the right way to live life, the most virtuous way to live life. But they're depriving a lot of people of life with that idea, with that thought process. They really are. They're on top of that, they're condemning themselves to misery and loneliness. Misery for sure, loneliness most likely. And honestly, I could probably do, a few hours of riffing, cuz just I guess I don't know. I feel like I've just kind of had a moment of clarity today, uh, and just kind of started to notice some things that I hadn't really noticed before. And yeah, it's like we're too smart for our own good, or we're too tolerant for our own good. We're too virtuous for our own good. Too concerned what people think of us for our own good. Like straight up. Why did Americans ever give a shit what it's easy to say that, though. It is easy to say that because, we set out as a country, as our founders set out. Uh, they set out for, like they write in the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident. Uh, uh, God, or we are all created equal and endowed by our Creator with an inalienable rights. And that's a tall order. That's quite a bit to live up to, truly. And we're good people. We don't like hypocrisy. And we've been holding ourselves to this impossible standard that was set forth in those documents. It is an impossible standard. And we know that now. It's objectively a fact that those standards will lead to your demise. They will lead to an illiberal earth, to an earth without humanity. Truly. Like, and it kind of it goes to prove the rule of like nuance. Like nothing is black and white. You you cannot see anything that way. It will be the death of you, and that's a fact. I mean, we know it now. If you try to live up to that, we're all created equal, blah 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 blah, it will fucking be the end of you as a people. Your nation will disintegrate because of that. It's a damn shame, but it is what it is. It's a fact. Like, and we need to get hip to this shit real quick, or we're not going to exist anymore. Like, straight up. These people, there is no other people on the planet that would show us the same humanity that we show them. Not not even Jews, and they're white. I mean, they're not white, they're not European. But they're not the same as everybody else. They're not the same as Africans. They're not the same as South Americans. They're not the same as um, Indians. They aren't. Although I would say they're maybe a little bit more insidious, but they at least won't violently fuck you. They will do it in an underhanded way where most likely you won't even realize you've been fucked. Which I'm not sure which one of those I would prefer. I'm not sure actually. I have to think about it. And I don't want to say something that I would contradict in the future, but you know, we- we're not going to exist anymore if we keep treating everyone else better than we treat ourselves. It's kind of like what Nick says about, you know, uh, advocate, take your own side, advocate on your own behalf. You can't survive without taking your own side. That's a fact. That's a fact, man. And the ideals that our founding fathers, as virtuous and noble as they may be, which they are, they're not, they're not, drawing a blank on that word, but it's not reasonable. They're not, it's not a reasonable, it's something to aspire to, but we've taken it too far. It's not reasonable. It's going to be the death of us. That's not reasonable, you know? And what sucks is we're going to have to be a whole hell of a lot more intolerant than we would have we would have been if we had just stayed intolerant. If we had just told people to shut their fucking mouths when they said, you have segregation." We should have just said, "Yeah, and it works fine. Shut your fucking mouth." Straight up. When Jews say, they raise hell about segregation or about how Europeans, have anti-Semitism in their blood. Well, it's like, watch your mouth, bud, because you wouldn't exist right now if Europeans didn't exist. Or if Americans didn't exist, because your asses would have been fucking wiped from the face of this earth if it wasn't for those anti-Semitic people that have that in their blood. You're here on this planet because of our good graces. You have Israel because of our good graces. You know, keep pushing, keep pushing, and see how long that remains. The status quo. Although they do have nuclear warheads, Israel's probably not going to disappear anytime soon for that fact. Although it may go defunct, people may just not do it anymore. They're losing their population, so it's possible. It's possible. It's absolutely plausible that Israel just fades away. Their population went down last year. It's a good sign to me. That means even Jewish people are like, "Yo, this ain't it. This ain't it. I'm going back to America." Like, but it's not reasonable for this tolerance to be like, and I get it. We do want to be good Christians, good people, and we are. And we always have been. Always. Even Uncle Tom's Cabin, I know it's cliche, but Uncle Tom's Cabin, a lot of people haven't read that book and don't understand actually what that book is about. The book is about how good a family was to a slave they owned. And some people would stop me right there and say, "Yeah, but they own slaves." Okay, well, slave master, these are just euphemisms. What would the difference be if you have a guy living on your property and you pay him a wage? What would I mean, are you trying, would somebody be trying to tell me that not paying somebody a wage, that's like, you know, th- being bonded to somebody, or being, I guess, the institution of slavery, buying and selling people. maybe that is evil. Maybe it's not. I don't know. I'm not going to pass judgment. I don't really care. It's moot. But it's such a mischaracterization. The way that people of the past are mischaracterized, they're caricatured. They're they are caricatured. And really, it's almost one of the worst things one can be guilty of, trampling on another man's grave. I mean, you've got to be lower than snake shit with a streak of fucking spit for a spine to trample on a man's grave. People who aren't here to defend themselves. People who lived through time or through eras that you can't even fucking fathom. To have the arrogance to sit in judgment of people who lived under a whole different set of circumstances. It's the height of arrogance. It's it's the height of human stupidity, idiocy. And I hate those people. The people that tore down all of those statues. And like I said, Uncle Tom's Cabin, those people, that slave lived better than probably a lot of people that were on earth at the time and supposedly free men, which, freedom to starve to death, eh, you know, I think I'd take slavery over that, actually. I think I would. Every fucking day of the week, twice on Sunday, I would take that. I mean, straight up, and another, what's funny is, not that long ago, freedom or liberty was a literal death sentence. No. It was worse than a death sentence. It was literally the worst punishment that could be visited upon a human. Because at one point, what I'm speaking of is exile. When somebody did something like somebody did something that unconscionable in a society, like in Rome, they were denied fire, water, shelter, and what the hell's the other one? There's one more: fire, water, shelter, and food. Fire, water, food, and shelter, until they were out of the country. And anybody who did give them fire, water, food, or shelter, they suffered the same fate. So liberty, radical liberty, especially, let's say, 2,000 years ago, when your community said, no, you can't live with us anymore, you need to leave, that was a death sentence. It was a death sentence. To be forced out of civilization into wilderness is a death sentence. For 99% of the time, that's a death sentence. So liberty is such a subjective word, and also it is a Latin word. Be wary of Latin words. They're very abstract. But at one point, that, like, it's all relative. People, oh, slavery's bad, this and that. It's like, well, hold up, hold the fucking phone here for a second. There is nothing as black and white as that. Like I said, even the men are created equal shit under God, like, even that isn't, that's not reasonable. It's not. And neither is just outright saying slavery is evil, or maybe it is. I don't want to comment on slavery itself, but to say the people that were in the antebellum South, they were, to a man, despicable, evil people. They weren't human beings doing the best they knew how under the circumstances they were living under. No, that's not what they were. They were despicable to a man. Anyone who thinks that is despicable to a man. Really and truly. I mean, we're all here just doing our best. doing the best we know how, living life YouTube. They can go fuck themselves. No, actually, I don't want to say that because you know what? YouTube, they've been pretty open for a little while. They haven't been really, they could be they could be much worse. Much worse. That's so crazy though. It's certainly got something to do with the algorithm though, because just give me a second, fellas. Well, it's nice to know though, you guys aren't just gonna fucking bail if this happens, because the people that are here for Fuentes, I mean, they're gonna bail. If they don't like me, they're gonna bail if when the stream goes haywire. But I wasn't touching anything either, so that wasn't me. Sometimes I wonder, like, I was I typing something and hit the wrong hotkey or some shit? Nah, nah, I wasn't even touching the keyboard or anything. So obviously, you know, they're not going to take the stream down. They're not going to hit me with a strike, knock on wood. But I would imagine that's their way of gently saying, "Hey, man, tone it down a little bit." And you know something? I appreciate that. They could be dick faces. They could be total dick faces. They could hit me with a strike right now and fucking totally destroy my channel, possibly my future. I mean, truly, or a good, a decent, the future of this path that I'm on. Future, it's always changing, always. Every time you make a decision, your future, well, hasn't happened yet, but every time you make a decision, your path, I mean, not making a decision is a decision, but they could be dick faces and they could have totally banned me already, because like, I think I got a strike in October because I accidentally streamed Bill Maher. I had been so used to just watching YouTube by myself that when I started streaming, it didn't occur to me that, that was somebody else's shit. So they hit me with a strike and shit, and they because they gave me a warning, they wouldn't even let me post a comment, or and they wouldn't let me post anything on this channel for a week. But I had to wait 90 days till January 22nd for that warning to be lifted. It got lifted. I think it was 3 days it was lifted, and they hit me with another one. And to my mind, that's just them saying, "Hey, we reserve the right to remove you, if you get a little bit colorful, a little bit too colorful. We reserve that right. We're going to let you know that that's a possibility. We will do that if we need to. Because if you don't have a strike, you can more or less get away with anything at least once. You know what I mean? Like, and so I'm thinking that's kind of like putting a leash on you, or kind of just, I mean, they're going to use all the tools at their disposal, whether we like it or not, and whether, like most people probably don't think that the strike is them tapping you on the shoulder and saying, "Hey, bro, chill the fuck out." Yeah, the strikes do go away. They go away after 90 days. Um, and like this last time I got a strike, but 3 days after the other one, but I had no other warnings because they'll give you a warning and then, oh, and nothing, no consequences. They'll give you a warning, no consequences. Then they will hit you with a strike, and sometime I forget why that time they I couldn't do anything for a week. I think it was because they gave me uh it was a different kind of strike because they give you strikes for copyright and then there's strikes. It's weird because